All right, get ready to decode some seriously colorful language because today we're diving deep into the world of American English idioms.
Ooh, idioms.
Yeah, you know those quirky sayings that make you scratch your head and think, wait, what?
Like raining cats and dogs.
Exactly.
Or kick the bucket.
See, you're already speaking the language.
I heard a few.
And we're going to uncover a whole treasure trove of them thanks to your fantastic suggestion, Advanced English Conversation Dialogues by Jackie Bolin.
This book is jam-packed with idioms. It's amazing.
My first thought was, how are we going to cover all of this in one deep dive? It's like a crash course in cultural fluency.
Right. But as I started flipping through it, I realized each idiom is like a mini story, a little snapshot of culture and humor all rolled into one.
That's so true. And that's probably why they're so memorable, right? You can picture them, you can feel them. They're not just words on a page.
And they add so much personality to your language.
Yeah.
It's like if you can sprinkle these into your conversations naturally, it shows you're not just speaking English, you're understanding the culture behind it.
It's like you've cracked the code. You're in the club.
Yeah, you're not just a tourist anymore.
Exactly. So we're going to tackle this book theme by theme: money, health, relationships, work, that kind of thing.
Okay, that was good.
So you'll have a whole arsenal of idioms ready to go for any situation. Let's start with something universally relatable: money. You know, everyone's got a money story.
Money talks, right?
Oh, there you go. Another idiom. But the book starts with cost an arm and a leg and uses the classic example of buying a car. I mean, haven't we all felt that way at some point?
Oh, absolutely. That feeling of like your wallet is cringing.
Like, ouch, that hurts.
But what's interesting is this idiom isn't just about something being expensive. It goes a bit deeper. It suggests a level of like sacrifice involved.
Right.
Like imagine way back when bartering was more common, giving up a limb was like the ultimate price.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it like that.
Now, obviously, no one's actually losing body parts over a car these days. But the idiom captures that feeling of, this is going to hurt my bank account, but I really, really want it.
Okay, so it's not just about the money itself, but the feeling of what you're giving up to get it. Makes sense.
The emotional cost, yeah.
And the book also mentioned break the bank, again, with that car example. Are those two interchangeable? Cost an arm and a leg versus break the bank?
Well, they're both talking about big expenses, definitely. But break the bank takes it a step further. It's not just a dent in your savings. It implies complete and utter financial ruin.
Oh, wow.
Like you've wiped out your accounts, maybe even gone into debt. Think of an actual bank vault, like smashed open and empty. That's the level of devastation we're talking about.
Okay, so if cost an arm and a leg is like wincing at a high price tag, break the bank is a full-blown financial meltdown. Got it. Now, the book also brings up living within your means, which seems pretty straightforward, right? Spend less than you earn, that kind of thing.
Yeah, basic budgeting.
But I feel like there's a whole philosophy behind that idiom, isn't there?
Absolutely. It's about being financially responsible, making sure your spending aligns with your income for sure. But it's not just about practicality. It reflects a certain mindset, you know, like a way of approaching money that emphasizes stability and long-term security over those instant gratification purchases.
So if someone is constantly breaking the bank or things are always costing them an arm and a leg, they're probably not the best at living within their means. I guess the opposite of that would be what the book called splashing out.
You got it. Splashing out is all about indulging, treating yourself, maybe even being a little bit reckless with your spending. Like think of a lavish vacation, a designer handbag. Those are all splashing out moments.
Okay, so we've gone from the pain of big expenses to the joy of treating yourself, all within the realm of money idioms.
There's an idiom for everything.
But everyone gets tired of talking about finances eventually. So let's shift gears to a topic we all experience: health. And the book uses the phrase feeling under the weather, which honestly I feel like I've used a million times when calling in sick to work.
Oh, it's a classic. It perfectly captures that feeling of being a bit off, you know, not seriously ill, but definitely not at your best.
Like just blah.
Yeah, just blah.
But what's interesting to me is how that idiom uses the weather as a metaphor for health.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's almost like we see illness as this temporary storm we have to weather.
Like that, yeah.
To get through.
To ride it out.
But what if you're actually really sick? Like stuck in bed, can't move, kind of sick. Would under the weather still cut it?
Oh, for that level of misery, We have stronger idioms.
Bring on the strong ones.
Okay, imagine someone completely knocked down by a bug, like they're really suffering. That's when you'd say they're sick as a dog.
Sick as a dog. I love that one.
Yeah.
It's funny because, well, dogs don't usually get sick that often, do they?
Not that we know of.
But I get the point. It's about feeling totally wiped out. Though there's got to be an idiom for when it's even worse than that, right? When it's
Oh, absolutely.
right.
When someone's health is in serious jeopardy, it's a grave situation.
Oh.
We say they're at death's door.
Oh, yikes.
Not a very cheerful one, I'll admit, but thankfully it's not an idiom we use very often.
Hopefully not. But the book also mentioned worse for wear, which seems to fall somewhere in between under the weather and sick as a dog. Maybe it's like that feeling after a really rough night out.
You're picking up on those nuances. Worse for wear is more general. It means being drained or exhausted, whether it's from illness, stress, even a wild party.
Yeah, like you've been through the ringer a little bit.
Exactly. It implies that you're depleted, but you'll bounce back. It's temporary.
You'll recover.
You'll recover.
Okay, so we've covered the spectrum from feeling a little off to being on the verge of collapse, all with colorful idioms. But health isn't just about illness, right? It's about taking care of ourselves, both physically and mentally. Speaking of which, the book uses this great phrase when talking about stress relief, blowing off some steam.
Blowing off some steam.
Yeah.
So essential.
So important.
But think about it, why steam? Steam is like built up pressure that needs to be released.
Right.
Just like when we kind of bottle up our emotions, it creates that internal pressure. So this idiom is about finding those healthy ways to let it out, whether it's through exercise or creative outlets or even a good vent section with a friend,
Just let it out.
Just let it out.
So it's not about avoiding emotions altogether. It's about channeling them in a way that doesn't make us, explode like an overheated tea kettle.
Exactly. Finding those outlets that help us de-stress and regain our balance is key.
Balance. I like that. And speaking of balance, the book also has this line where a character says, I wish I hadn't been such a couch potato. An apple a day keeps the doctor away, right? It's classic advice.
Yeah.
But is there any truth to it? I mean, is a single apple really a magical cure-all?
Well, I don't think a single apple has those kind of superpowers. But what's fascinating about this idiom, despite being about a literal fruit, it captures a much broader concept.
What's that?
Preventative health.
Yeah.
It's about making those healthy choices a regular part of your routine so you're less likely to need those major medical interventions later on.
It's like the idiom itself is this little nudge towards taking care of ourselves.
A little reminder. And if you're doing all the right things, maybe you could even say you're as fit as a fiddle.
As fit as a fiddle. I like that one.
Who doesn't want to be compared to a perfectly tuned instrument?
I know, right? Sounds good to me. So from under the weather to as fit as a fiddle, we've covered a lot of ground in the health department.
Yeah, we have.
But there's another area of life where idioms really shine, and that is relationships. And I'm not talking about just the lovey-dovey kind. I'm talking about the full spectrum of human connection, from friendships to family dynamics, even those tricky workplace relationships.
Yeah, the juicy ones.
Oh, yeah. The book had one that really jumped out at me. It's giving someone the cold shoulder.
Ooh, a cold shoulder.
Yeah. And they used it to describe a strained parent-child relationship, which can definitely get icy sometimes, right?
Oh, absolutely. Family drama is the best drama.
Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst. But it's a powerful image. Giving the cold shoulder. You can practically feel the chill in the air.
Yeah, like you're being ignored.
Yeah, like, don't talk to me.
Exactly. But giving the cold shoulder is more than just physical distance. It's about that deliberate withdrawal of affection and communication. It's a way of saying, I'm upset, and I'm not ready to engage with you right now.
Okay, so it's not just about being busy or needing some space. It's a deliberate act of showing displeasure. But is that the same as what the book calls letting the dust settle? That seems more about just taking a time out.
You're right, there is a difference. Letting the dust settle is more about creating a temporary pause, allowing emotions to cool down before you address the situation directly. Imagine like a room filled with swirling dust after a fight. You can't see clearly until things settle, right?
Right, yeah.
It's about taking that step back to gain perspective before you jump back into the fray.
So giving the cold shoulder is intentional. It's a bit of a power move, while letting the dust settle is more about strategic disengagement. That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. It's all about understanding the subtle messages behind these idioms and using them appropriately. Now, let's talk about those really strong positive relationships.
Okay.
The book has this adorable idiom, 2 peas in a pod, to describe those close friendships. I mean, it just makes me picture like two little peas snuggled up together, completely inseparable.
It's such a cute image. It perfectly captures that feeling of being so in sync with someone, sharing the same interests, values, even quirks, like you're two halves of a whole.
And that kind of connection can be so valuable.
Yeah.
But let's be real, even the best of friendships aren't always sunshine and rainbows.
That's true.
Remember that workplace drama in the book where someone gets stabbed in the back?
Ooh, yeah.
That takes us to a much darker side of relationships.
Ugh, stabbed in the back. It's such a visceral idiom. It goes way beyond a simple disagreement or misunderstanding. It's about a deliberate betrayal of trust, a wound that cuts deep and can be hard to heal.
Exactly. It evokes a sense of shock, pain, and vulnerability. It highlights how actions can have a much deeper impact than words, especially when trust is broken.
So we've gone from the warmth of being two peas in a pod to the sting of betrayal. Relationships are a roller coaster, aren't they?
They really are.
But speaking of journeys, let's move on to our final theme for this part of our deep dive work. The book starts off this section with a classic hit the books, which, let's be honest, every student has heard at some point.
Oh, it's a rite of passage.
It's like a universal experience.
It is.
But it's more than just studying, right?
Yeah.
It implies a certain level of dedication and intensity.
It's like, imagine physically striking those books to force the knowledge into your brain.
Oh, I get it.
That's the level of effort we're talking about.
It's funny because the book actually advises against cramming and pulling all-nighters, which seem pretty similar to hitting the books at first glance. What's the difference?
It's all about the approach and the mindset. Hitting the books suggests a consistent, structured study routine, whereas cramming and pulling all-nighters, that's like last-minute desperation.
Okay.
Trying to cram information into your brain in a panic. The idiom itself, hit the books, reflects a more effective and sustainable way of learning.
So it's not just about the hours you put in, it's about how you use those hours. Smart. Now, the book also has this great section on study tips, which seems like a perfect segue into our next idiom, working your fingers to the bone.
That one evokes a sense of pure hard work.
Yeah.
It paints this picture of someone toiling tirelessly, pushing themselves to their limits to achieve a goal. But what's interesting is it applies to both physical and mental labor. Think of a writer spending hours hunched over a manuscript, or a programmer working late into the night to meet a deadline.
Yeah.
Those are both examples of working your fingers to the bone.
It's like the idiom itself is a testament to dedication and perseverance, even if it hints at a bit of exhaustion, too.
It does, yeah.
But not all work is about burning the midnight oil. Sometimes we stress ourselves out unnecessarily, making mountains out of molehills, as the book puts it.
That's a classic.
That's such a good one. It's all about perspective, right? We blow things out of proportion, turning minor setbacks into these major catastrophes. It's like that feeling when you spill a drop of coffee on your shirt and suddenly feel like the entire day is ruined.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Yeah, but the idiom reminds us to zoom out, see the bigger picture, and not let those little things derail us.
Exactly. It's a gentle reminder to, chill out. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Exactly. So from the intensity of hitting the books and working your fingers to the bone to the importance of keeping things in perspective, we've covered quite a bit in the work realm. But we've also touched on money, health, and relationships. What's the big takeaway here? What have we learned from all these idioms?
What's fascinating about these idioms and what we've seen today is that they're not just about vocabulary, they're windows into culture and thought.
That's a great point.
By incorporating these colorful expressions, you'll not only sound more natural in your communication, but you'll also deepen your understanding of how native speakers think and express themselves.
So keep exploring.
Keep playing with language.
Keep having fun with it.
Most importantly, have fun with it.
We'll be back soon with part 2 of this deep dive, where we'll uncover even more fascinating American English idioms from advanced English conversation dialogues.
There are so many more.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive into the wonderful world of American English idioms. Last time we were talking about money, health, relationships, even some work idioms.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground.
A lot of ground. But there are so many more to explore. So where are we headed next on this idiom adventure?
Well, let's stick with that work theme for a little bit longer, but this time, let's focus on success.
Okay.
And there's one idiom that really captures that idea of being clever, quick-witted.
Oh, I like those kinds of people.
Yeah, right. Resourceful.
Resourceful.
It pops up in the book when they're describing a character who's always one step ahead.
Okay, give me a hint.
It involves a baked good.
A baked good. Smart cookie.
Yeah, smart cookie.
Smart cookie. I love that one. It's like you can practically picture someone snapping their fingers and coming up with a brilliant solution, you know?
Yeah, they're sharp.
They're sharp.
Savvy.
Savvy. But is it just about, like, book smarts, or is there more to it?
It definitely goes beyond just having a high IQ, I think. Think about it. Cookies are small, but packed with flavor, right?
Right.
So a smart cookie is someone who's resourceful, adaptable. They can handle any situation with, like, a mix of intelligence and street smarts.
So they're not just, like, good at taking tests.
No, they can handle real-life stuff.
They're out there in the world.
They're the ones who always seem to have a plan, even when things get a bit chaotic.
They're, like, the problem solvers.
Yeah, the problem solvers.
Okay, so smart cookie, someone who's sharp, savvy, has that certain something that helps them navigate tricky situations. But sometimes even the smartest cookies need a little help along the way.
Oh, absolutely. We all need support.
And that brings us to another idiom that I found really heartwarming. It's a shoulder to cry on.
Oh, a shoulder to cry on.
Yeah, the book uses it to describe that friend who's always there for you no matter what.
It's that deep sense of support. Empathy. You know, you have someone you can turn to when things get rough, someone who will listen without judgment and offer comfort when you need it most. It's like a safe haven, a reminder that you're not alone in your struggles.
Yeah, it's like a human security blanket.
Yeah, I like that.
It's so nice.
It is nice.
But it's not just about offering comfort, though, right? It's about being present, going through those ups and downs together. And speaking of which, the book uses a great idiom to describe that kind of long-lasting bond through thick and thin.
Oh, through thick and thin. A classic.
A classic. What does that one mean to you?
It's about resilience.
Yeah.
You're sticking by someone's side no matter what life throws your way, good times and bad. It's that unshakable loyalty that weathers storms and emerges, like even stronger on the other side. It's the kind of friendship that can withstand disagreements, distance, even major life changes.
It's not just about, like, having fun together, you know?
No.
It's about being there for each other through the good times and the bad times.
Exactly.
That's real friendship right there. But let's be real, not all relationships are that deep and meaningful.
True.
Sometimes we connect with people based on shared interests or goals. And the book captures that perfectly with the idiom, birds of a feather flock together.
Yes. It's like we're drawn to those who are like us, who share our values, passions, maybe even our quirks. It's like, those flocks of birds that move in perfect unison. There's a sense of unity and belonging that comes with finding your tribe.
It's like that feeling when you meet someone new and you instantly click, Yeah. You just get each other.
Yeah, you're on the same wavelength.
There's no need to explain yourself.
You just vibe.
You just vibe. But even with those natural connections, sometimes things don't go as planned.
Oh, that's life.
And remember that character in the book who made a hasty decision and ended up really regretting it? They definitely jumped the gun on that one.
Oh, jumping the gun, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's all about acting impulsively without thinking things through. It's like that athlete who takes off before the starting pistol.
Oh, yeah.
They might have a head start, but they've also broken the rules and to face consequences.
So it's like about that fine line between being spontaneous and being reckless.
You got to think before you act.
Sometimes a little patience goes a long way. But speaking of taking action, we've all experienced those moments of, like, anticipation and nervousness before a big event, right?
Pre-game jitters.
The pre-game jitters, exactly. The book calls it having butterflies in your stomach.
Ooh, those butterflies.
A butterfly.
Yeah, they can be both exciting and nerve-wracking.
I always get them before a big presentation or a job interview. It's like, my stomach is trying to fly away.
It's that fluttery sensation that signals that we're stepping outside our comfort zone, taking a risk, maybe even facing a fear.
Yeah. It's that, like, feeling of the unknown. Yeah.
It's like, what's going to happen?
But the book also mentioned a phrase that seems to contradict that feeling of nervousness. A piece of cake.
Yeah.
Usually that means something's easy, right?
Yeah, super easy breezy.
Breezy.
That's us.
But what's interesting is how the book uses it. It's not about the task itself being easy. It's about having the confidence to tackle it.
It's a mindset.
It's that mindset. It's like a way of reframing a challenge and saying, I got this, no problem.
Yeah, I'm not even sweating it.
Not even sweating it.
Piece of cake.
Piece of cake. So it's like a mental trick to boost your confidence and approach a situation with a positive mindset. But sometimes even with the best attitude, we need a little extra help from the universe.
Oh, yeah. A little luck never hurts.
A little luck. And that's where fingers crossed comes in, right?
Fingers crossed, absolutely. It's that universal gesture of hoping for the best, wishing for good luck, especially when we have limited control over the outcome.
Right.
It's like we're sending a little prayer to the universe saying, please let this work out in my favor.
It's like a little superstitious boost,
A little extra mojo.
to tip the scales in our direction. And speaking of quirky traditions, there's another one that always throws me off. Break a leg. I mean, who wishes someone an injury, especially right before a big performance?
Right. Seems counterintuitive.
It does.
But break a leg is a classic theatrical idiom. It's like a way of wishing someone good luck on stage. And there are a few theories about its origin. Some say it's like a reverse psychology thing. By wishing for the opposite of what you want, you're somehow warding off bad luck.
Interesting.
Another theory links it to like the idea of bowing so deeply that you might actually break a leg, like as a sign of a successful performance.
So it's either a superstitious charm or a testament to like the dedication of performers.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a unique way of showing support. But sometimes words speak louder than any quirky idiom. The book has this beautiful line where a character simply says, "I'm here for you." It's so simple, yet so powerful.
It is. It goes beyond just mere words. It's a declaration of unwavering support. It's a promise to stand by someone's side through those challenges, through thick and thin. It conveys empathy, understanding, and a willingness to offer practical help, or just a listening ear.
It's about showing up for someone, letting them know they're not alone in whatever they're going through.
Yeah, exactly. We've all been there. We all need that sometimes.
But sometimes even with support, life throws us curveballs.
Life is unpredictable.
And we need a fresh start.
A reset.
A reset. The book uses a familiar idiom in a new way to describe this, a clean bill of health. We usually associate that with like physical well-being.
Yeah, going to the doctor, getting a checkup.
Yeah, but the book uses it metaphorically.
Interesting.
To describe like a fresh start after a difficult period. It's like wiping the slate clean, getting a second chance, emerging from a challenge with renewed energy and a clear perspective.
It's like a mental and emotional clean bill of health.
Exactly. So it's not just about being free from illness, it's about feeling mentally and emotionally refreshed, ready to tackle whatever comes next.
Love that.
But getting to that point often involves a process of recovery and rebuilding.
Mm-hmm.
That's where back on my feet comes in.
Oh, yeah, back on my feet.
Mm-hmm.
That's about regaining stability and independence after a setback.
Okay.
It suggests resilience, that ability to bounce back from adversity and move forward with renewed purpose. It could be recovering from an illness, a job loss, a heartbreak, anything that knocks you down temporarily.
Yeah, like you're getting your footing again.
Yeah, you're finding your balance.
It's finding your balance.
You're not knocked out, you're getting back up.
And sometimes that forward momentum requires teamwork and collaboration.
Oh, for sure.
That's where the classic idiom, two heads are better than one, comes into play.
Ah, yes. Two heads are better than one. A testament to the power of collaboration.
I love it. What does it mean to you?
It's about recognizing that, we don't have all the answers. And seeking input and diverse perspectives can lead to more creative and effective solutions. It's about leveraging each other's strengths to achieve a common goal.
It's like that brainstorming session where, one idea sparks another, and suddenly you have a solution that's better than anything you could have come up with alone.
Synergy.
Synergy, exactly. But sometimes, even with a great team, the going gets tough and we need a little encouragement to keep pushing forward. The book uses a simple yet effective phrase for this, and it is, keep your chin up.
Oh, I love that one. Keep your chin up. It's like a pep talk in 3 words.
It is.
It's a reminder to stay strong, maintain a positive attitude, and don't let those setbacks define you. It's about focusing on what you can control, finding that silver lining, and believing in your ability to overcome challenges.
It's like that little voice inside your head saying, you got this. Don't give up.
Exactly.
But sometimes, even with the best intentions, we reach a point where we need to step back and reassess. The book uses call it a day, which we usually associate with ending the workday.
Right. Clocking out.
Clocking out. But they use it in a broader sense.
Interesting. How so?
Well, it can also apply to any situation where we need to recognize our limits, prioritize our well-being, and say enough is enough for now.
Okay. Yeah. It's about knowing when to step away, recharge, and come back with renewed energy and focus.
So it's not about quitting.
No.
It's about strategic pausing. taking a break to prevent burnout and come back stronger. And sometimes that break involves like spending time with friends. And when it comes to like group outings, there's one idiom that always comes up: go Dutch.
Go Dutch. Oh, yeah. All about fairness and equality.
I like it.
Everyone chips in equally for a meal or activity, ensuring no one feels burdened or obligated.
That's good.
Takes the pressure off, creates a more relaxed and enjoyable social experience.
It's like that silent agreement to split the bill evenly, avoiding any awkwardness or resentment. But sometimes we want to do more than just split the bill, right? We want to express generosity and treat our friends. And that's where my treat comes in.
Oh, yeah, my treat. It's a gesture of warmth and hospitality. It's a way of saying, like, I appreciate you and I want to show you my gratitude.
Oh, that's nice.
It's about strengthening bonds, creating a sense of warmth and camaraderie.
Yeah.
Those little acts of kindness that just brighten someone's day and make them feel special.
I love that. But before we get too carried away with those feel-good vibes, there's one last idiom I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
The book uses it to describe those moments when we have to admit defeat.
Oh, okay.
Throw in the towel.
Throw in the towel. It signifies surrender. Yeah. You're acknowledging that the battle is lost and it's time to move on. It's a difficult decision, often requiring humility and self-awareness, but sometimes it's the wisest choice. Yeah. It allows us to conserve our energy and focus on more promising opportunities.
So we've gone from smart cookies to throwing in the towel.
Quite the range.
From shoulders to cry on to calling it a day. We've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive. What overarching themes are you noticing as we explore these idioms?
What's striking me is how these idioms, while seemingly simple and colloquial, they offer these really profound insights into human nature, relationships, and even the pursuit of success.
It's true.
They highlight the importance of resilience, support systems, balance, and recognizing both our strengths and our limitations. And by understanding these nuances, we can communicate more effectively, navigate challenges with greater ease, and even cultivate more meaningful connections.
So it's about more than just memorizing vocabulary. It's about tapping into that cultural wisdom embedded in these expressions.
Absolutely.
And using them to navigate the complexities of life. We'll be back soon with part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll uncover even more fascinating American English idioms from advanced English conversation dialogues.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back for round 3 of our idiom exploration. Thanks to you and your fantastic suggestion of advanced English conversation dialogues, we've been on quite the journey through the twists and turns of American English idioms.
We have so many good ones.
I know, from those big expenses that cost an arm and a leg to finding a shoulder to cry on when things get rough.
And everything in between.
But there are still so many more idioms to uncover. So where are we headed in this final installment of our deep dive?
Well, let's step into a realm where things aren't always as they seem. A world of secrets, surprises, and maybe even a little bit of mischief.
Ooh, sounds intriguing.
Because today, we're talking about idioms that add a touch of drama and intrigue to our conversations.
Okay, I'm ready for the drama.
Are you ready to spill the tea?
Oh, is that an idiom?
Maybe. But speaking of spilling, the book uses this really funny idiom to describe a secret being revealed. Let the cat out of the bag.
Let the cat out of the bag. I love that one.
It's so visual, right?
Yeah.
You can practically picture that mischievous cat escaping and creating chaos.
Total chaos.
But letting the cat out of the bag isn't always accidental.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it's a deliberate act of sharing confidential information, to get ahead or to stir up trouble.
Ooh, juicy gossip.
The book even has a scene where someone reveals their plans to leave their job before everything's finalized.
Oh, so they were talking about it behind people's backs?
A little bit, yeah.
Not cool. But sometimes those whispers can turn into full-blown conflicts if we don't, what's that phrase, nip things in the bud early on?
Yes, nip it in the bud.
That's a good one.
It's all about taking preventative action, addressing a problem before it escalates.
Okay.
Think of a gardener pruning a plant to prevent it from growing out of control.
Right.
It's about taking that decisive action early on to avoid bigger headaches down the road.
It's like that saying, a stitch in time saves 9. But sometimes, even with the best intentions, things don't always go as planned, and we find ourselves in situations that are just, plain confusing. The book uses a very fitting idiom for this clear as mud.
Clear as mud. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's that perfect blend of sarcasm and frustration when something is just utterly incomprehensible.
It's like, what are you even talking about?
Exactly. Imagine trying to see through a thick layer of mud. It's murky, distorted, impossible to make sense of.
It's like those times when you get instructions that are so convoluted, you end up more confused than when you started.
Absolutely. Speaking of confusing situations, there's another idiom that highlights those moments when people just can't seem to agree. See eye to eye.
Oh, yeah, see eye to eye. That's a big one.
Yeah. It's about finding common ground, reaching that shared understanding.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Like that moment when two people look at the same picture and see the same thing. There's a sense of harmony and alignment.
It's like that aha moment. You realize you're both on the same wavelength. But let's be real, disagreements are part of life.
Yeah. Conflict happens.
And sometimes those disagreements can get pretty heated. The book uses a rather explosive idiom to describe this. Blow a gasket.
Blow a gasket. Ooh, that's a good one. It's all about expressing extreme anger or frustration. It's like that old car engine that overheats and suddenly bursts a gasket.
Right.
There's a sense of pressure building up until it reaches that breaking point.
It's like that feeling when you're so angry you feel like you might actually explode.
Exactly. But thankfully, there are healthier ways to blow off some steam.
Right, and we talked about that in part 1 of this deep dive.
Finding those constructive outlets for our emotions, whether it's exercise, creative expression, even just talking things out.
Yeah, just letting it out.
Let it out. It can help us regain our composure and approach situations with a clearer head.
So it's about finding those pressure valves.
Yeah.
That allow us to release those intense emotions in a safe and healthy way. But sometimes, even after all that effort, we reach a point where we have to admit defeat. The book uses a very powerful idiom for this. Throw in the towel.
Oh, throw in the towel. It signifies surrender. You're acknowledging that the battle is lost and it's time to move on.
That's a tough one.
It is tough. It's not an easy decision, but sometimes it's the wisest choice. It allows us to conserve our energy and focus on, more promising opportunities.
It's about picking your battles.
Yeah, exactly. Choosing where you're going to put your energy.
But on the flip side, there are also times when perseverance is key, when we need to dig deep and, what's that phrase, hang in there, despite the challenges.
Let's hang in there. It's a powerful expression of encouragement. It's about holding on tight, not giving up hope, and believing that things will eventually get better.
It's like that inner strength that helps us weather storms and emerge stronger on the other side.
Yeah, it's that little voice inside your head saying, you got this, just keep going.
And sometimes the best thing to do is to simply call it a day and take a break. And I love how the book uses this idiom, not just for ending the workday, but for any situation where we need to just pause and recharge.
Yeah, call it a day. It can apply to anything from ending a project to stepping away from a stressful situation.
Right.
It's about recognizing our limits, prioritizing our well-being, giving ourselves permission to rest, and come back with renewed energy.
So it's not about giving up, it's about strategic pausing.
Yeah, exactly.
Taking a break to prevent burnout and maintain a healthy balance.
Self-care.
Self-care is so important.
It is. And sometimes, we need a little bit of luck on our side.
We do. The book uses a simple yet effective phrase for this. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. It's that universal gesture of hoping for the best. You're wishing for a favorable outcome, especially when we have limited control over the situation. It's like we're sending a little prayer to the universe saying, please let this work out.
It's a little superstitious, maybe, but there's something comforting about that gesture. We're actively putting that positive energy out into the world.
Manifesting
it. And speaking of positivity, there's one last idiom that I wanted to touch on. Speak of the devil. It's such a funny one, and it always seems to happen at the most unexpected times.
Right. Speak of the devil.
Yeah.
It's all about those surprising coincidences. When the person you were just talking about suddenly appears.
It's like the universe is eavesdropping on us.
It really is. It has a sense of humor and is orchestrating these perfectly timed entrances.
It's always a little startling, but there's something delightful about it too, a reminder that life is full of unexpected twists and turns.
It keeps us on our toes.
It keeps us on our toes. Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into American English idioms, from secrets and surprises to disagreements and frustrations, from giving up to hanging in there. We've explored a wide range of human experiences and emotions through the lens of these really colorful expressions. Any final thoughts for our listeners before we wrap up this linguistic adventure?
I think what's important to remember is that idioms aren't just about memorizing words. It's about understanding the culture, the thought processes behind them. By embracing these sometimes quirky sayings, you're not just expanding your vocabulary, you're gaining a deeper appreciation for the nuances of the English language and the people who speak it.
It's about connecting with the heart and soul of a language.
Exactly. It's more than just fluency. It's about understanding the culture, the humor, and the history behind these expressions.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into American English idioms. A huge thank you to you, our listener, for suggesting this fascinating topic.
It was a great choice.
And remember, keep those ears open. You'll start hearing these idioms everywhere. Happy learning. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. So, you're prepping for a trip, getting ready to travel.
It's exciting.
Super exciting, right? You want to make sure you're ready, your English is all set to make the most of that experience.
Yeah.
So we are going on a deep dive into some essential travel vocabulary.
That's fun.
We've got a great resource here. It's nicely organized, breaks it down first by location,
Okay.
airport, hotel, restaurant, you name it. And then within each location, you've got beginner, intermediate, advanced.
I like that.
Yeah, it gives you options, right?
Yeah.
Plus, it even has some sample dialogue, so you can actually hear these phrases in action, hear how they're used.
That's a really practical approach.
Yeah.
Because honestly, learning a language for travel, it's not about, reciting grammar rules perfectly.
Yeah.
It's about confidently handling those real-world situations.
Exactly.
Right.
So let's picture ourselves. We're at the airport.
Okay.
Maybe a little overwhelming, even for seasoned travelers.
Oh, it's true. Busy place. Lots going on.
Yeah, so many people, different languages.
But even having a few basic phrases down can just make such a difference in how smoothly things go.
For sure.
Especially check-in, baggage claim.
Yeah.
Keeping it simple and direct avoids confusion.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what I love about these intermediate phrases? They cover those little things that just make a flight more comfortable.
It's that.
Like how to request an aisle seat.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one to have.
Yeah.
For sure. Nobody wants the middle seat on a long flight.
No, you don't. And speaking of potential stress points, knowing how to ask about excess baggage fees,
Oh, yeah.
that could save you some trouble, save you some money at the counter.
Definitely.
Yeah. Now, these advanced phrases, they really show you're a seasoned traveler, like confirming baggage allowances beforehand or, navigating that priority boarding process.
You've thought ahead. You're prepared.
Shows you're prepared, yeah. What stands out to you about the sample dialogues for this section?
Well, I think the one where you're asking about baggage allowance policy is good.
Yeah, okay. Let's try it out.
Okay.
Imagine you're at the check-in counter.
Okay.
Excuse me. Could you please confirm the baggage allowance policy for international flights?
Certainly. You're allowed 2 checked bags weighing up to 23 kilograms each.
Perfect. See? You're speaking the language of the airport. All right, so we've made it through check-in security. Let's fast forward. We've arrived at the hotel.
Okay.
This is another place where just clear communication can really elevate the experience.
For sure. At that beginner level, it's all about the essentials, right?
Yeah.
Checking in, getting your key, figuring out when checkout is.
Yeah. And it's so important to have your reservation details handy, too, in case there's a mix-up.
Good point.
Now, we level up to the intermediate phrases. I'm seeing some really handy ones here.
Like what?
Like asking if breakfast is included.
Oh, always a good one.
Key question. And, just don't be afraid to advocate for your needs, whether it's asking for extra towels, inquiring about amenities. Remember, being polite but assertive can make your stay more comfortable.
Absolutely.
Okay, now these advanced phrases.
All right.
Really impressive.
What do we got?
Requesting late checkout, inquiring about concierge services.
You're traveling in style.
You are. What I like about these phrases is that they show you're interested in more than just the basics,
Yeah.
Like asking for local attraction recommendations, it shows that you want to really experience the destination.
Like a local.
Yeah, like a local. All right, let's put some of these advanced phrases into action.
Okay.
Imagine you've just arrived at your hotel. You want to make the most of your stay.
Okay.
You walk up to the desk, you say, "Good evening, I have a reservation under your name, and if you have a moment, I'd love to get some recommendations for local attractions, especially anything within walking distance."
Of course. Here's your key. We also have this great map highlighting nearby points of interest. There's a fantastic local market just a few blocks away. I highly recommend checking it out.
Look at you, settling right in. You've mastered the airport, the hotel, but now I think it's time we talk about one of the best parts of any trip.
What's that?
Food.
Food, absolutely.
It's such an incredible window into a culture.
It is.
And even if your vocabulary is limited, having a few basic phrases can make your dining experiences so much more enjoyable.
For sure.
Ordering from a menu, asking about the price, just navigating those initial interactions can feel so much smoother.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much a simple please and thank you can go, even if that's all the local language you know.
It does. It shows respect.
It does. It shows respect, a willingness to engage.
Yeah.
Now, these intermediate phrases, they're starting to get into some fun territory.
What are we talking about?
Like asking about the specialty of the house.
Oh, good one.
Right.
Yeah.
What a great way to try something new, something exciting.
You discover those hidden gems that way. Not always in the guidebooks.
You do. And requesting recommendations from your server,
Oh, yeah.
it shows that you're open to exploring local flavors.
It does. It shows a willingness to go beyond your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Which can lead to some amazing experiences.
Some really memorable culinary experiences. What are your thoughts on the advanced phrases in this section?
Well, I'm impressed with the level of detail here.
Yeah.
Handling dietary restrictions,
Yeah.
inquiring about wine pairings. You're a foodie expert.
You are.
It's great. And, even if you don't consider yourself a foodie, having a phrase ready for, if your steak's undercooked,
Oh, yeah.
that can be helpful. It's
Yeah.
about being able to communicate your needs clearly, but politely. you
Yeah.
know, even in a slightly awkward situation.
Yeah. And this sample dialogue is a perfect example of that. Let's imagine you're at a lovely restaurant, but you need to check about vegetarian options.
Okay.
Excuse me, are there any vegetarian options on the menu?
Yes, of course. We have a delightful lentil stew and a roasted vegetable pasta that are both quite popular.
So polite and helpful. Now, with our stomachs full, our confidence boosted, I think it's time we head out and explore the city.
Sounds like an adventure.
Yeah. This section is all about giving you the tools to navigate a new place with confidence. From basic directions to figuring out the best way to get somewhere, we've got you covered.
Great. Yeah, and sometimes those unexpected detours lead to the most interesting discoveries.
That's so true. Speaking of detours, I'm really curious about these intermediate phrases for asking about alternative routes or reporting delays.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're anticipating the unexpected.
Exactly. Because, let's be real, travel rarely goes exactly according to plan.
Right.
Being able to adapt on the fly, that's crucial.
It is. What are your thoughts on the advanced phrases for this section?
Well, these definitely take things to the next level.
Yeah.
Booking private cars, understanding toll systems, even handling car rentals.
You're a transportation pro.
It's all about giving you that flexibility to explore a destination on your own terms.
I like.
Whether you're sticking to public transport or venturing off the beaten path, having these phrases in your toolkit, it can really empower you.
Okay, let's put our transportation vocabulary to the test.
All right.
Imagine we're at a bustling train station. We need to catch our next train.
Okay.
Excuse me, what time does the next train to your destination depart?
The next train departs from Platform 5 at 10:15 a.m. Would you like me to show you where that is?
Wow, we're on our way. Now, we've tackled getting around, but there's another essential part of travel we need to talk about.
What's that?
Shopping.
Oh, yes.
Shopping.
It's such a fun way to experience a new place, whether you're browsing local markets for souvenirs or, seeking out those one-of-a-kind treasures.
Absolutely.
And this section has phrases for every kind of shopping experience, from, simple inquiries to those more nuanced interactions.
Even at that beginner level, having those essential phrases down can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Asking about prices, sizes, do they accept credit cards? It helps you navigate those initial exchanges. Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that, even if you don't speak the local language fluently, showing that you're making an effort to communicate respectfully, it can really enhance those interactions.
I agree.
It can. Now, the intermediate phrases, they're all about engaging with the shopping experience more deeply.
Okay.
Expressing interest, asking for assistance, even trying on clothes. It takes things to the next level.
Yeah.
I love how practical these phrases are. Let's be honest, we've all been in that situation where you need to ask, do you have this in a different size? Or can I try this on? Having those phrases ready can be a lifesaver.
It's true. It's about being able to communicate your needs clearly and confidently.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the advanced phrases here?
Well, these are for the true shopping aficionado. Bargaining, inquiring about specific items, even complimenting the craftsmanship.
You're a master negotiator.
And it's about more than just making a purchase.
Yeah.
It's about appreciating the artistry the cultural significance
Yeah.
behind the objects you're buying. Complimenting someone's work can create a special connection.
It's those little moments of human connection that can make a trip so memorable.
For sure.
Now, we've talked about a lot of positive travel scenarios, but it's also important to be prepared for those, just in case moments.
Right.
So let's talk about handling emergencies.
Okay, this is where clear, concise communication is absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
Knowing a few key phrases can make all the difference in getting the help you need, especially in a stressful situation.
Absolutely. At the beginner level, it's about mastering those essential phrases. Calling for help, explaining that you need a doctor, reporting a theft.
Right.
It's about knowing how to get your message across in those critical moments.
And even if you don't know a lot of, medical terminology,
Right.
being able to convey some basic information is so helpful.
It is. The intermediate phrases cover things like describing symptoms, explaining allergies, finding the nearest pharmacy.
It's like having a little mini first aid kit
Yes.
of essential phrases.
Ready to go. What stands out to you in the advanced phrases for this section?
Well, these phrases are about being prepared for, more complex medical situations,
Okay.
describing pre-existing conditions, requesting specific medications, even understanding insurance coverage.
Yeah,
It can really put your mind at ease.
it can. It's about being proactive and informed, which can be so empowering, especially when you're far from home.
Exactly.
So let's imagine a scenario where you need to seek medical attention.
Okay.
You walk up to the desk and you say, "Excuse me, I need to see a doctor. I'm feeling unwell and I think I might have a fever."
Certainly, I can help you with that. Is
Yeah.
there a particular type of doctor you need to see?
See, having those phrases ready can make a potentially stressful situation so much more manageable.
Absolutely.
Now, let's shift gears and talk about something a little lighter.
Okay.
Social situations.
Ah, yes. Social interactions, such a vital part of travel.
They are. They allow you to connect with people, learn about different cultures, and create those lasting memories. And this section covers the whole spectrum of social interactions, from basic greetings to those more, in-depth conversations.
At the beginner level, it's all about those foundational phrases. Saying hello, introducing yourself, expressing basic courtesies.
Yeah.
Those are the building blocks of any social interaction.
They are, and I think it's easy to underestimate the power of those simple greetings. Even a warm smile and a hello can go a long way in establishing a connection.
Especially when you're in a new environment.
Yeah.
Those small gestures can make you feel more comfortable and approachable.
They do. Now, the intermediate phrases are about taking those conversations a step further.
Okay.
Asking questions, sharing information about yourself, even expressing opinions.
It's about engaging with the people you meet and learning from their perspectives.
It is. I'm really enjoying these advanced phrases for social situations.
Yeah.
They take things to a whole new level.
They do, don't they? Expressing gratitude, giving compliments, even engaging in a little bit of lighthearted banter. It shows you're really comfortable with the language.
It's about connecting with people on a deeper level and embracing those cultural nuances.
I like that.
Let's try out one of these advanced phrases.
Okay.
Imagine you've just met someone new. You want to keep the conversation going.
Okay.
You say, "Hello, my name is your name. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm visiting from your city. What's your favorite thing about living here?"
It's lovely to meet you too. I love the vibrant energy of this city. There's always something happening, and the people are so welcoming.
Wonderful. You've sparked a conversation that could lead to all sorts of new discoveries.
Exactly.
Okay, we've covered social interactions, but there's another essential aspect of travel we need to address.
What's that?
Transportation.
Ah, yes. Transportation, the lifeline of any trip.
It is. It's how you get from point A to point B, experience the landscapes, and sometimes even have those unexpected adventures along the way.
That's right.
And this section has everything you need to know, from asking for directions to mastering different modes of transport.
For sure. At that beginner level, it's all about those essential interactions.
Yeah.
Asking about bus or train schedules, purchasing tickets, even requesting assistance with your luggage.
Yeah.
These phrases are your foundation for navigating public transport.
It's amazing how much freedom and flexibility you gain when you know how to confidently use public transportation.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on the intermediate phrases in this section?
Well, they're all about being resourceful and adaptable.
Okay.
Asking about alternative routes, clarifying destinations, even reporting delays.
Yeah.
It's about being prepared for those unexpected twists and turns that travel often throws our way.
It's about embracing the unknown and turning those potential challenges into opportunities for adventure.
Yeah, those intermediate phrases are so helpful because even, seasoned travelers,
Yeah,
you can find yourself in those unfamiliar situations.
for sure.
I've definitely had to, double check a route or ask for clarification.
Absolutely. It's all about being comfortable asking for help when you need it.
Yeah.
Now, we've covered a lot of ground today. Airports, restaurants, shopping, transportation.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one more crucial aspect of travel we need to discuss.
What's that?
Accommodation.
Accommodation. True. That's your home base, right?
It is.
Your sanctuary while you're exploring a new place.
It is. And having the right vocabulary can really make a difference in how comfortable and enjoyable that stay is.
For sure.
This section breaks it down, starts with those basics at the beginner level.
Okay.
Confirming your reservation, requesting your room key, inquiring about those essential amenities.
Yeah,
These phrases really set you up for a smooth check-in experience.
they do. And, those first impressions at a hotel can really shape your whole perception of your stay.
Oh, they can?
Being able to communicate your needs clearly and politely from the get-go, that can make all the difference.
I completely agree. Now, these intermediate phrases are all about taking things a step further, ensuring your comfort throughout your stay, requesting extra towels, reporting any maintenance issues, even asking for a wake-up call.
Yeah, those are the things that can turn a good stay into a great one.
They are. It's about being proactive and addressing any little hiccups that come up.
Right. And remember, most hotels really want to make sure their guests are happy.
Oh, yeah.
So don't hesitate to speak up if something's not right.
Exactly. Speaking of speaking up, these advanced phrases are all about maximizing that accommodation experience.
Okay, what have we got?
Requesting room upgrades, inquiring about concierge services, even providing feedback on your stay.
You're a hotel expert.
I'm trying. And it's about more than just getting the best room or the most luxurious amenities, right?
Right.
It's about being an engaged and informed guest.
Yeah.
Providing that feedback, both positive and constructive, shows that you value the effort that goes into creating that welcoming, hospitable environment.
I like that.
Let's imagine, okay, you've just arrived at your hotel, you want to get settled in, you're curious about the amenities. You say, "Good evening, I have a reservation under your name, and could you tell me a bit about the hotel's amenities? I'm particularly interested in the fitness center and the spa."
Welcome. We have a state-of-the-art fitness center, open 24 hours a day, and our spa offers a variety of treatments and services. We can certainly arrange a tour for you if you'd like.
Look at you, making yourself right at home. Now, we've talked about, positive side of accommodation. Let's be real, sometimes things don't go perfectly smoothly.
True.
So let's talk about how to handle those tricky situations when they arise.
Okay, this is where clear and assertive communication is key.
Yeah. At the beginner level, it's about mastering those essential phrases for reporting a problem, requesting assistance, expressing dissatisfaction.
Right.
It's about making your concerns known in a clear and respectful way.
Yeah. And remember, even if you don't know all the technical terms to describe a problem,
Right.
just being able to explain the situation in simple language can get you a long way.
It can. The intermediate phrases take things a step further, allowing you to describe the problem in more detail, suggest possible solutions, follow up on your request.
Yeah, it's about advocating for yourself.
Yeah.
Making sure your needs are met.
What are your thoughts on the advanced phrases in this section?
Well, these phrases are for those situations where, a more assertive approach might be necessary.
Okay.
Escalating a complaint, requesting to speak to a manager, even understanding your rights as a guest.
Yeah.
These could be really empowering.
It's about knowing your options, being prepared to stand your ground if you need to.
Right.
But remember, even in those challenging situations, maintaining a polite and respectful tone can go such a long way in achieving a positive outcome.
Absolutely.
All right, let's imagine a scenario. You encounter a problem in your room.
Okay.
You go to the front desk, you say, "Excuse me, I'm afraid there's a problem with my room. The air conditioning isn't working and it's quite uncomfortable."
I apologize for the inconvenience. We'll send someone up right away to take a look. In the meantime, would you like a fan to help cool the room down?
Perfect. You handled that situation with grace and efficiency.
Thank you.
Now, we've covered so much in this deep dive. Airports, hotels, dining, social interactions.
Been the journey.
But there's one more essential ingredient to successful travel that I want to touch on.
What's that?
cultural awareness.
Cultural awareness. So important.
It is. It's about recognizing and appreciating the diversity of customs, traditions, social norms around the world,
Absolutely.
approaching every interaction with respect and an open mind.
Yeah.
This section really emphasizes, being mindful, adapting our behavior to the local customs.
Right.
Even at that beginner level, those basic gestures of politeness and respect, like saying please and thank you, can make such a big difference in how you're perceived.
It's true. It's those little acts of courtesy that show you're making an effort
Yeah.
to understand and respect the local culture.
The intermediate phrases delve a little bit deeper, navigating social situations, understanding dining etiquette, even being mindful of religious practices.
Right.
It's about being observant, adapting our behavior to those subtle cues.
I agree.
What are your thoughts on the advanced phrases for cultural awareness?
Well, these really highlight the transformative power of, cultural immersion,
Yeah.
understanding nonverbal communication, appreciating cultural values, even engaging in those meaningful conversations about local traditions.
Yeah.
It's about going beyond the surface and connecting with the heart of a culture.
It's about moving from being a passive observer to an active participant in that cultural landscape.
Like that.
Let's imagine a scenario. You're visiting a temple. You're unsure about the etiquette.
Okay.
You ask, "Excuse me, is it appropriate for me to take photos inside the temple?"
Photography is not permitted inside the temple as a sign of respect for the sacred space.
Yeah.
However, you are welcome to take photos of the exterior architecture.
See, a simple question can help you avoid an unintentional cultural faux pas,
It can?
and it shows a genuine desire to be respectful.
Yeah.
Well, we've covered a lot in this deep dive into English travel vocabulary.
We have.
From navigating those airports and hotels to handling emergencies, immersing ourselves in new cultures, we've equipped you with the phrases, the strategies to confidently handle a whole range of situations.
I hope so.
So as you embark on your next adventure, remember to embrace that power of communication, be respectful of those different cultures, and most importantly,
Yeah.
have fun.
Have fun. Safe travels.
Safe travels, everyone, and we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, yeah.
What aspect of travel are you most looking forward to using your newfound English skills for?
Let us know.
Let us know.
Okay. So going from intermediate to advanced English,
Ooh, yeah,
it's a big jump.
it is.
It is a big jump, but it's totally doable.
Absolutely.
And in this deep dive, we are here to help you make that jump.
That's right.
We're going to be your guides, and we're going to be sharing some of the best shortcuts and secrets.
Yeah, all those little kind of cheat codes, those hacks
Cheat codes, yeah,
to unlock
your English
their
potential.
full potential. Exactly.
Because we've got a treasure trove of tips and tricks
We do.
to help you with all 4 skill areas.
Yeah.
Reading, writing, listening, and speaking.
It's all covered.
All covered. And the best part is you can start using these right away.
Immediately.
This isn't just theory.
Yeah, this is practical.
This is practical stuff.
Stuff you can use day to day.
No need to dust off the grammar textbooks.
Nope.
None of that. We're diving right into the real world.
The real deal. Real world English.
The real deal.
How to speak and write and listen and read like a native speaker.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kick things off with reading.
Okay.
So, you've been crushing those Agatha Christie novels.
That's great.
You're doing really well with those, but
It's time to level up.
it's time to level up.
We're going to graduate to the
Big leagues.
Economist.
The Economist, exactly.
BBC News articles, maybe even some academic journals.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there.
Putting, your skills to the test.
Yeah.
Getting you ready for that university application or that job interview.
Okay, so I remember when I first started reading, complex texts, it felt like I was encountering a new language.
Oh, I know that feeling.
It's like every other word I didn't understand.
Right.
And I want to grab the dictionary
Yes.
and look up everything.
It's so tempting.
It's so tempting, but is that the most effective way to learn?
Well, it can be a bit of a trap
Okay.
because,
Yeah.
constantly stopping to look up every word,
Yeah.
it really kind of breaks your flow.
Yeah.
It can make reading feel like a chore.
It can, yeah. Instead, I really want you to kind of harness the power of context clues.
Okay.
Think of yourself as a detective,
Ooh.
piecing together a mystery.
Yep.
You don't always need every single detail to understand the big picture.
Right.
So let's say you come across a sentence. Like the scientist's groundbreaking research earned her accolades from the international community.
Okay.
Now, you might not know what accolades means right away, but from the context, can you kind of guess?
Yeah, it sounds like she's earned some kind of recognition or praise.
Exactly.
Yeah, getting awards or something.
Yeah, maybe awards, praise, recognition.
Something like that.
Something positive.
Yeah.
Right, so you've used the clues around the word
The context clue.
to figure out the meaning.
Ooh, I like that detective work. It's fun.
It is, isn't it?
It is.
It's like a puzzle.
And it's a little bit less intimidating
Oh, for sure.
than having to look up every single word.
Yeah, and another strategy you can use to get better at this is to actually look for synonyms or antonyms in the sentence or the surrounding sentences.
Okay.
Because often they can kind of give you these hints about the meaning of that unknown word.
So it's almost like a built-in kind of decoder ring.
Exactly, yeah.
For you to figure out the vocabulary.
I like that, yeah.
I like that.
The decoder ring, that's great.
So what about exploring different genres?
Oh, yeah, that's a great point.
Does that help as well?
It does,
Okay.
absolutely, because venturing into different writing styles, like poetry or technical writing, or even legal documents, it can expose you to a wider range of vocabulary and different sentence structures.
Right. So it's like adding different spices to your language palette.
I love that.
Okay, so we've tackled reading.
We have.
But what about writing?
All right, writing.
How do we go from writing, grammatically correct sentences to crafting really sophisticated and stylish prose?
Oh, that's the goal.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's about moving beyond simply conveying information.
Yeah.
It's about expressing yourself.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
With nuance.
With nuance.
And impact, yes.
So instead of saying, I like traveling, you could say, I'm captivated by the allure of exploring diverse cultures and breathtaking landscapes.
Wow, yeah.
Same thought.
Much more evocative.
But way more impactful.
Right.
It's like you're painting a picture.
Exactly.
With your words.
Instead of just stating a fact, you're actually bringing the reader with you on that journey.
But how do you learn to do that?
That's a great question.
I mean, it feels a bit daunting.
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be, but there are, certain things you can focus on.
Okay.
One is to actually really think about your sentence structure. Right. Instead of relying on those simple subject, verb, object sentences.
Yeah.
Experiment.
Okay.
With things like compound and complex sentences.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, I went to the store, I could say, although it was raining heavily, I ventured out to the store because I desperately needed coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Is that kind of what you mean?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're adding detail.
You're adding detail, and you're creating a more kind of interesting narrative just by changing that sentence structure.
Yeah, so it's not just about adding like fancy vocabulary.
No.
It's about structure.
It's
how you're crafting it.
The way you put those words together.
Yeah, okay.
The way you phrase things to create a certain effect.
So it's about being intentional.
Yes.
With your choices.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So we've talked about reading. We've talked about writing.
Yes.
Now let's talk about listening.
Ooh.
Listing, which can be one of the most challenging
it can be.
aspects of language learning.
Especially at the advanced level.
When you encounter different accents, rapid speech,
the speed,
and
idioms, yes.
That make no sense.
That make absolutely no sense when you first hear them.
Yeah,
right.
Like a linguistic jungle out there.
It is.
Do you have any tips for navigating that?
Well, I think one of the best things you can do is to really immerse yourself in authentic English content.
Okay, so like not just language learning podcasts.
Not just those.
But like branching out.
Listening to podcasts designed for native speakers, even if they're not about topics that you're, super familiar with.
Right. So it's okay if I don't understand every single word.
Exactly.
It's more about
getting that exposure
to
the natural flow and the speed of real English.
Okay. So would you recommend things like, if I'm going to listen to podcasts?
Yes.
What kind of podcasts?
Well, there are so many, but I think a few good ones to start with are, The English We Speak, which is a great one for learning idioms and expressions. Yeah. And then TED Talks Daily, which is just a fantastic way to kind of get exposed to different accents, different topics, different styles of speaking. And then, something like Serial, which is, a really captivating storytelling podcast.
So a variety of different things.
Yeah. And honestly, the best resources are the ones that you find genuinely interesting and engaging.
Right, because that's
what's going to keep you coming back for more.
That's going to keep you coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've heard about a technique called shadowing.
Oh, yes.
Is it supposed to be helpful for listening?
It's a fantastic technique.
Okay, so can you explain what that is?
So basically, shadowing is you're listening to a native speaker,
Okay.
and then you're trying to repeat
Okay.
what they're saying as closely as possible.
So mimicking their
Mimicking.
pronunciation,
Yeah.
intonation, even their rhythm. So it's kind of like vocal exercises.
Exactly.
But for English.
Yeah, it's like going to the gym
Okay.
for your mouth
Yeah.
and for your ears.
I've never tried that before.
You should give it a try.
But it sounds really effective
It is.
to pronunciation.
Yeah, and you can do it anytime, anywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do it with podcasts. You can do it with audiobooks.
Yes.
You can even do it with YouTube videos.
Right, so anything you're listening to.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So we've covered reading.
We have
We've covered writing.
listening.
Listening, yes.
Now let's talk about
The big one.
the big one.
The one that everybody gets a little bit nervous about.
Yeah.
Speaking.
Speaking.
Yes.
I think a lot of people,
Yeah.
myself included, we get nervous
It's understandable.
about speaking in a new language,
It is.
especially at an advanced level.
Especially when you're trying to reach that fluency,
Yeah.
where you can express yourself
Yeah.
with nuance.
With nuance. Yeah. And, and effortlessly.
Effortlessly. It
Yeah.
can be nerve-wracking.
It can be, but, the key
Yeah.
is just practice and exposure.
Practice and exposure.
Yeah. The more you practice speaking,
Yeah.
the more confident and comfortable you'll become.
Well, that's easy to say.
I know.
But sometimes it's hard to put into practice.
It is.
Especially if you don't have a lot of opportunities
Yeah.
to interact with native speakers.
Yeah.
How do you go about doing that?
Well, there's still lots of ways to practice.
Okay.
Even if you don't have regular access
Yeah.
to native speakers,
Right.
you can join online language exchange communities.
Uh,
You can find conversation partners
Right.
through apps or websites,
Yeah.
or, even record yourself speaking
oh, okay.
and then listen back to it
So you can hear
so you can hear.
how you sound.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what about those moments where
Yeah.
you're having a conversation and you want to use like a sophisticated word
Yes.
or a phrase,
Yes.
but you're not sure if it sounds natural
Oh, I know that feeling.
or forced?
It's all about finding that balance.
Okay.
You don't want to sound like you're trying too hard
Yeah.
or, using a thesaurus
Yeah.
to impress people.
Yeah.
It's about using advanced vocabulary in
Yeah.
a way that feels natural and authentic to you.
So it's not about showing off
No.
your vocabulary. It's about using the right words.
It's about using the right words for the right situation
Right.
and in a way that feels,
To express yourself clearly.
yes, to express yourself clearly and effectively.
Okay.
So I always think about it like, adding spices to your cooking.
Oh, okay.
You don't want to overwhelm the dish with
Yeah.
too many flavors. But, a few well-placed spices
Yeah.
can really enhance the taste
Okay.
and make it more interesting.
I like that analogy because it's not about cramming
Right.
all these big words,
Exactly.
but it's about, thinking thoughtfully
It's about being strategic.
about how you use advanced vocabulary.
Exactly.
And the more you expose yourself
Yes.
to advanced English,
Yes.
the more it will just,
It would flow naturally.
it will start to flow naturally, yeah.
It's like building up that foundation.
A foundation, exactly.
And allowing your spoken English to blossom.
The blossom, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
From that.
And, remember, everyone makes mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Even native speakers. So don't be afraid to just experiment,
Yeah.
try out new words, try out new expressions.
Right.
The most important thing is to communicate
Right.
effectively and have fun while you're doing it.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like giving yourself permission
Yes.
to play
To play.
with
Yeah.
the language.
Exactly.
I like that.
And to not be afraid
Yeah.
to make mistakes.
Yeah. I think we've
I
covered
think so much.
so much ground already.
I know.
And I'm already feeling more
I would
confident
think-
about my own English skills.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear.
Just from,
Yeah.
hearing your advice.
Well, remember, it's a journey.
It is.
And it's all about taking those small steps.
Yeah.
Celebrating the progress.
Right.
And never giving up.
Never give up.
No.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break
Okay.
and come back to tackle even more
More tips, more strategies.
tips and strategies
Yes.
in part 2
In part 2.
of our deep dive
I'm excited.
into advanced English.
Me too.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Okay. So we're back.
We are back.
And we're ready to dive even deeper
Deeper.
into this world of advanced English.
That's right.
And we've covered so much already.
I know we've covered so much.
From decoding tricky vocabulary
Yeah.
to expressing ourselves with more nuance and style. But we're not done yet.
No, not at all.
We still got plenty of tips
Oh, he's got a lot more.
and strategies to share,
Absolutely.
especially when it comes to integrating
Yes.
all 4 skill areas:
That's right.
reading, writing, listening, and speaking, to create a truly holistic approach
Holistic, yeah.
to language learning.
That's the key.
So it's not about mastering each skill in isolation.
Right.
It's about weaving them together
Yeah, weaving them together.
to create this tapestry
I love that analogy.
of fluency.
It's like a beautiful tapestry.
But how do you actually do that in practice?
Okay, so let's say you've just read a fascinating article
Okay.
about the future of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Instead of just passively consuming that information,
Right.
why not challenge yourself
Okay.
to summarize the key points in writing?
So you're taking what you've read
Take what you've read,
and then processing it
put it into your own words
in a new way.
in a new way.
So you're reinforcing your comprehension, but you're also developing your writing skills.
You're synthesizing the information,
Yeah.
and you're expressing it in a new way.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And what about listening?
Okay, listen.
How can we connect that skill
Right.
to the other ones?
Okay, well, imagine you're listening to a podcast
Okay.
about a controversial topic,
Right.
like climate change.
Like,
Afterwards, you could have a discussion with a friend or a family member about the main points that were raised in that podcast.
So you're taking those ideas
You're taking those ideas
heard
out of your head and then actually
putting them into practice.
talking about them with another person.
Exactly.
Oh, I like that.
So you're practicing your listening comprehension,
Yeah.
but you're also formulating your own opinions.
And then speaking them.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good way to practice.
It is.
You're listening and you're speaking. Yeah, and it helps you remember the information better, too.
Oh, okay.
When you engage with it on multiple levels,
Okay.
it kind of gets embedded.
Embedded.
Yeah.
So it's not just about each skill individually.
Right.
It's finding these ways to connect them,
To connect them, yeah.
to create like a synergistic learning experience.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is inspiring.
Good.
It feels like, we're giving people
Yeah.
a blueprint for like becoming masters of English.
That's the goal.
But let's be honest, sometimes even with like the best of intentions,
Yeah.
it can be tough to stay motivated
It can.
and consistent with language learning.
Yeah.
So, any tips?
Yeah, I think setting specific, achievable goals is really important.
So instead of just aiming to improve your English.
Right, because that's very broad.
Yeah, it's broad.
Very vague.
Right.
Set a concrete target.
Okay.
So you could say, okay, this week I'm going to learn 10 new vocabulary words.
Okay, so specific.
Specific.
Measurable.
Measurable, yeah.
I like that.
Or this month I'm going to write one short essay.
Okay.
Or every day I'm going to listen to 30 minutes of English podcasts.
So it's like it's broken down
Yeah, you break it
into these bite-sized pieces
bite-sized pieces.
that you can actually manage,
Exactly.
that feel achievable.
Yeah.
So you're not overwhelmed
You don't feel overwhelmed.
by this huge goal.
Yeah, because that can be really daunting.
Yeah.
And it can actually put people off.
Yeah.
So yeah, break it down into smaller chunks.
Make it get manageable.
And then you can see your progress.
Right. So you're actually seeing the result. And
Exactly.
you feel good about it.
Yeah, and that keeps you motivated.
It's encouraging to keep going.
Exactly.
And what about tracking your progress?
Oh, tracking is a fantastic idea.
Okay.
So you can use a simple notebook or a spreadsheet or even language learning apps to keep track of your goals, your milestones, your achievements.
I like the idea of keeping like a language learning journal.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Like write down interesting words you find, new phrases.
And, you can even reflect on how your journey is going. Yeah. Celebrate your successes.
Celebrate the little wins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And remember, even small steps are still progress.
It all adds up.
It all adds up in the end.
It's not about being perfect.
No, not at all. It's about
consistency.
Consistency.
It's about just chipping away at it.
Chipping away at it.
Little by little.
Little by little.
Every day.
Every day.
Even if it's just for 15 minutes.
So you don't need.
No, you don't.
You don't need hours and hours.
You don't need to block out hours and hours.
Okay.
Just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes a day.
And make a big difference. A big difference. Okay.
It's like exercising a muscle.
Okay.
Regular, consistent workouts
Yeah.
will get you better results
Sometimes.
than one big, intense session.
Right. So it's like a marathon,
Exactly. It's a marathon.
not a sprint.
It's not a sprint. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, it's about building those habits,
Yeah.
making it sustainable.
Yeah.
And remember,
Yeah.
you've got so many tools and resources
Okay.
available to help you.
Okay.
Language learning apps, online dictionaries,
Yeah.
grammar checkers.
Right. There's a lot out there.
There is.
We don't have to do it alone.
No. And the best part is,
Yeah.
you've got this amazing community
A community. Yeah.
of language learners out there.
Yeah. So many people are learning English.
It's one of the most, spoken languages
Yeah.
in the world.
So we're not alone.
No.
And it makes it more fun
More fun, more enjoyable.
when you're doing it with others.
Absolutely. And more rewarding.
This is so positive.
Yeah.
It's like you're giving us a roadmap
Yeah.
for success.
A roadmap for success.
Not just with English,
No.
but like in life.
In life, exactly.
About that consistency.
Consistency.
It's about, celebrating the small wins.
Yeah, celebrating.
It's remembering that it's a journey.
It's all about the journey.
Yeah.
And, the more you embrace that,
Yeah.
the more rewarding it will become.
And English is just this
It's a gateway
gateway to so many other things.
to so many other things.
Yeah, it's
How
about
do you-
expanding your horizons,
expanding your horizons. Yeah.
connecting with new cultures and new people,
Absolutely.
and unlocking.
Unlocking your potential
Yeah.
as a global citizen.
It makes me realize it's not just like
It's not just a set of skills.
a set of skills. Yeah.
It's so much more than that.
It's a journey
It's a journey, yeah,
of self-discovery.
of self-discovery.
Yeah, I like that.
It's about growth.
Okay, so we've covered so much
We have.
in just these two parts,
I know, it's amazing.
but we have one more part to go,
One more to go.
so stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
We've got some exciting final thoughts
Final thoughts, yes.
and a thought-provoking question
The thought-provoking question
to leave you with.
to leave you with.
So stick around
Stick around
for the grand finale.
for the grand finale.
All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into advanced English fluency. And I have to say,
Yeah.
I'm feeling super energized after all the amazing tips and insights we've covered.
I know, me too.
But before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Okay.
What are some of the biggest kind of breakthroughs or aha moments you've had in your own language learning journey?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of the biggest kind of light bulb moments was realizing that language learning, it's not just about memorizing rules and vocabulary.
Oh, yeah.
It's about developing this deeper understanding of how language works
Yeah.
as a system of communication.
So it's like
Cracking a code.
tracking a code, exactly.
Yeah, like understanding the underlying principles.
The structure, the patterns.
Yeah, and then it makes it easier to
You can kind of
navigate those nuances.
all the little
Yeah.
twists and turns of English.
Exactly. You start to see the connections
Yeah.
between different parts of the language.
It makes it less intimidating.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
And, another kind of breakthrough for me was actually
Yeah.
embracing the idea of making mistakes
Okay.
as part of the process.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up
Right.
in that fear of making a mistake.
Especially when you're like
When you're speaking.
you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to mess this up.
It's just special. Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to mess this up.
But the truth is,
Yeah.
mistakes are inevitable.
Yeah. You get to make a,
You are.
yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
They're actually valuable learning opportunities. Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Instead of
Instead of seeing them as failures.
like beating yourself up.
Exactly.
It's more about
It's like, oh, this is a chance for me to learn
yeah.
and grow.
Yeah, I think a lot of language learners, myself included,
Yeah.
we tend to be perfectionists.
Yeah. We want to get it right.
We want to get it right every time.
Every single time.
Yeah.
But you know what?
What?
It's okay to let go
Okay.
of that need for perfection.
All right, give myself permission
Give yourself permission, yeah.
to not be perfect.
To make mistakes.
Yeah.
Because that's how you learn.
Yeah, okay, so embrace the messiness
Embrace the messiness, yeah.
of the learning process.
Because that's where the magic happens.
Okay, I like that. And speaking of,
Yeah.
not being afraid to experiment,
Yeah.
I think it's so important to find ways to make
To make it fun.
language learning fun and engaging.
Fun and engaging, yeah.
So do you have any tips for I think one of my favorite ways is to connect it to your other interests and passions.
Oh,
So for
Definitely.
example, if you're a movie buff,
yeah.
why not watch
Okay.
English language films
Yeah.
with subtitles?
Okay.
Or if you love music,
Okay.
try listening to English language songs
Yeah.
and read the lyrics.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's about kind of finding those things that you already enjoy.
Yeah. So you're not
Yeah, and then you're kind of,
forcing it,
you're sneaking in the language learning
sneaking it in. Yeah.
without it feeling like a chore.
It's more natural.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
more organic.
I like that.
And I think it's also important to,
Yeah.
celebrate your progress.
Celebrate those little wins.
Celebrate those little wins.
Yeah.
No matter how small.
Even if it's just like, I learned a
Yes.
new word today.
Yeah, or I understood a whole sentence in a
Yeah.
podcast.
And I didn't have to look it up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a win.
It's a win.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that
Yeah.
language learning,
It's a journey.
it's a journey,
It is
not a destination.
a destination, yeah.
You know, there's always going to be
Right.
more to learn, more to explore.
There's always another level
There is.
to reach.
And, the beauty of it is
Yeah.
the journey itself
Yeah.
is so rich
Yeah.
and so filled with discoveries.
Discoveries. Yeah.
So embrace those challenges.
Okay.
Savor the victories
I like that.
and never stop exploring.
Keep going.
Keep going, yeah.
All right. So it feels like we've come full circle
We have
in this deep dive.
full circle from
From the practical.
the practical to the mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it's all about.
And I hope our listener is feeling
Yeah.
empowered and inspired
Inspired and ready
to continue their journey
to keep going.
with English.
But before we say goodbye,
Yes.
I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question.
Oh, I like these.
Okay.
Okay.
So imagine you've reached that
Certainly
advanced level of English fluency.
They're there.
What doors do you see opening?
What opportunities?
Yeah. What opportunities and possibilities
That's a good one.
do you envision for yourself?
Yeah, think about that.
We would love to hear
We would.
your aspirations
Yeah.
and your
And
dreams.
as you continue
Yeah.
on your journey, remember,
Yeah,
we are here to cheer you on
we are.
every step of the way.
So keep practicing, keep exploring,
Yes.
keep believing in your potential.
You've got this.
Until next time,
Until next time.
happy learning.
Happy learning.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are going deep on leveling up our English today.
That's right.
And we have got this resource,
Uh-huh.
Vocab Advanced 2010.pdf.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
it's kind of amazing.
Oh.
You ready to get into it?
I'm ready.
Okay, so
Let's go.
Vocab Advanced 2010.pdf.
Okay.
It's for like advanced English learners.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Basically, if you're feeling good about the basics,
Right.
this is gonna
Okay.
take you to the next level.
So it's like I can speak English, but I
It's-
want
you
to
own it.
own it.
Own it.
Yes.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So the first thing I noticed
Mm-hmm.
was this section on prepositions.
Okay.
Now, I'll admit
Yeah.
prepositions trip me up
They're so tricky.
sometimes.
Yeah, I know. They really are. But,
I mean, little words, but
yeah, they're so small, but they can really
Yes, they
mess
really
you
are.
up.
And so I thought it was cool
Mm-hmm.
that they're in here
Right.
and they have simple examples.
Yeah.
Like they show you how to use by
Yes.
for different types of transportation.
Totally.
By bike,
Yeah. By bus.
by plane.
By train.
Yeah,
I love it.
it's great.
Yeah.
And then there's this other part
Okay.
that talks about the difference between on account of,
Yeah.
because of,
Yes.
and due to.
Oh, interesting.
And I've always thought that they were like
I know a lot of people think that.
basically the same.
Yeah.
But I guess they're not.
They are similar.
Okay.
But on account of is
Oh.
definitely the more formal one.
Oh, okay. So like if I'm writing an email
Exactly.
to someone important.
Yes. Use that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right.
So we've got the prepositions.
Right.
Now we're getting into the
Yeah.
like the real meat
The good stuff.
of the vocabulary.
Yeah.
And this section on thinking
Yes.
really
Yeah.
caught my eye.
Yeah.
Because you know how sometimes you just say I think all the time.
Yeah, we all do.
And it's kind of boring.
Yeah, exactly.
So this gives you all these other ways
Yeah.
to express what you're thinking.
Express your thoughts.
You can say I deduce or
Yes.
or I speculate.
I assume. Yeah.
It's very cool.
I really like that.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Especially I think
Yeah.
if you work in a professional setting,
Totally.
it would be really helpful
Definitely.
to be able to
Yes.
express yourself clearly.
Yeah, and be persuasive
Yeah.
with your ideas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so then
Okay.
from thinking,
Mm-hmm.
they have this whole section on
Okay.
leisure activities.
Yeah.
So like if you like to play sports or
Yeah.
if you like to listen to music,
If you have hobbies. Yeah.
this is the place for you.
This is where you go
Yes.
to find the vocabulary.
To talk about all those things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that because I think
Mm-hmm.
learning new languages, it
Yeah.
opens up so many
It doesn't.
possibilities to connect with people.
I completely agree.
And being able to talk about something you're passionate about
yeah.
is a great way to like
Totally.
build relationships.
It is like a
Yes.
common ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then speaking of connecting with people,
Yes.
they have a whole section on travel,
Of course.
which I think is so cool.
So important.
Because if you can book flights,
Uh-huh.
navigate foreign cities,
Mm-hmm.
and talk about your trips in English,
Yes.
that's amazing.
It opens up the whole world.
It really does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready to book a trip right now.
Let's go. But,
Hold on. Before we go,
okay.
we got to talk about these sections.
That are called verbs and nouns.
Yes.
So
Those are good.
what's the deal with those?
Yeah. Basically, they give you a ton of action words
Right.
and then the nouns that go with them,
Okay.
like the corresponding nouns.
Got it.
It's really helpful for making
yes.
your English sound more varied and sophisticated.
So like
Yeah.
instead of using the same verb
Exactly.
over and over again,
You got options.
I have options.
So you got choices.
I can mix it up.
mix it up.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah. And it also helps you understand those subtle differences in meaning. Like when a verb becomes a noun,
Okay.
it just adds more nuance
Okay.
to your language.
So beyond just learning the words, I'm learning how to like
Exactly.
really use them properly.
Use them well.
Yes.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. But you know what always gets me?
Okay.
It's those idioms,
Yeah. Oh, the idiom.
those expressions that just,
They're so tricky.
I know,
No.
you don't make any sense.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you try to like translate them directly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't translate them literally.
You can't know.
Yeah.
But luckily,
Yes.
Vocab Advanced 2010.pdf has got us covered.
They do.
They do.
They have a whole section
They have a whole section on idioms.
on idioms with prepositions.
Yes. Yes.
I love that.
It's so helpful.
so helpful.
Yeah.
Because there are so many idioms that I've
Yeah.
been afraid to use because I didn't want to.
You don't want to sound silly.
Sounds silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is going to help me feel more confident
That's great.
using them.
Awesome.
Okay, so from those tricky idioms,
Yeah.
we're going into this like
What-
deeper section on society,
Yes.
which talks about like
It's
socialization,
interesting.
peer pressure,
Big topic.
the generation gap.
Yeah, that one's always relevant.
Right. Yeah.
Like it never goes away.
Yeah, you would think it would go away,
You'd think.
but it never does.
Nope.
And then it just keeps going.
And this document keeps going.
This document keeps going.
Yes.
We've got education, multicultural society,
Important.
mass media.
It's like they thought of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They knew what we needed.
What we needed.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
They did good.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm realizing
What is you realizing?
it's not just about knowing all these like fancy words.
Okay.
It's about like
Yeah.
understanding how they all connect.
It's the connections.
Yeah.
It's the big picture.
It is. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It is.
Okay. We've barely scratched the surface.
We've barely started.
We've barely started.
Yeah.
What
Say
else?
more.
What else is coming up?
Well, next.
We're going to get into some of the heavier topics.
Keep bringing it on.
Law and order,
Yeah.
the economy, and even politics.
Oh, boy.
Buckle up.
Okay.
That's going to be good.
I'm ready.
All right. All right. So we're getting into the heavy stuff now.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Law and order.
Okay. I am intrigued.
It's like, it's surprisingly in-depth.
Oh, really?
Like, it's not just about knowing,
okay.
like, robbery versus theft. It's like, it really goes into,
Right.
like, the whole legal process.
Oh, cool. So like Law and Order, but with real vocab.
Yes.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah.
So it explains things like,
It explains stuff like evidence,
okay, evidence.
verdict,
Okay.
even capital punishment.
Wow. Okay.
Like, all these kind
Yeah, those are big,
of words.
big concepts.
And I feel like we use them sometimes
Right.
without really knowing what they mean.
I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
They kind of throw them around,
Yeah.
but this actually like
All right.
defines them clearly.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
And it goes into like,
And it even like goes into the differences
okay.
between murder and manslaughter,
Oh, wow.
which are like
yeah,
one word different,
huge.
but very different legally.
Right.
Yes.
Like really different consequences.
yeah, big time.
Okay. Wow.
So
That one's intense.
it is.
Okay. Let's
Okay.
lighten it up a little bit.
All right. Where you go?
How about the economy?
Okay. The economy.
Is this where I learn all the like secret Wall Street lingo?
Well, maybe not all the secrets, but you'll definitely learn some.
Right.
You'll get a good foundation.
Okay, cool.
It covers, everything from like supply and demand,
Okay.
which is, pretty basic.
Right.
But then it gets into stuff like trade deficits, economic growth.
I hear those
Yeah, you hear them.
all the time. Do you really know what they mean?
Not really.
This will teach you.
Okay, awesome.
So yeah, it's good.
I like that.
Yeah. And it even goes beyond just like the numbers and stuff.
Yeah,
It talks
right.
about like different economic systems, like the difference between,
Yeah.
nationalization and privatization,
Right.
who controls the industries.
Those are those are hot button topics.
Those are big questions.
Yeah, and I feel like
Yeah.
if I knew the vocab,
Yes.
I could follow those
You'd be able to
conversations better.
follow along better.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and even form
And even like,
your own opinions.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it talks about,
It also talks about,
Okay.
it doesn't just stay like high level.
Right.
It talks about things like poverty,
right.
wealth,
Right.
standard of living.
Yeah. And those are
Those are important
really important. Yeah. Because economics
because it's about
affects people.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that.
It is easy to get lost in,
We're looking at,
all the charts and graphs.
yes, exactly.
Fuck it.
It's about people's lives.
It's about people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So
Sure.
we've covered law,
Yeah.
the economy.
The economy.
I feel like I'm getting smarter already.
I hope so. All right, so, and now let's move on.
We're moving on to,
Politics.
politics.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is,
I'm a little nervous.
well, it's a fascinating section. It really unpacks everything from like different political systems, different ideologies,
Right.
to like, you know how elections work, international relations,
Okay.
the whole shebang.
Oh, that reminds me.
What's that?
My friend was trying to explain to me the difference between proportional representation.
And
That's a tricky one.
I couldn't remember what it's called,
I know.
but I was like,
It's a mouthful.
I know.
Yeah.
I was like, I know there's two different systems,
Yeah.
but I don't remember
It's hard to keep them straight.
what they are.
Yeah.
Is that something
It is?
this covers?
It is.
Fine.
It explains it really well, too.
Okay, so basically, proportional representation.
Proportional representation is all about
Okay.
giving parties seats
Uh-huh.
based on their percentage of the vote.
Okay.
So, like, if they get
Right.
20% of the vote,
They get 20% of the seats.
they get 20% of the seats.
Okay.
Whereas first past the post is whoever gets the most votes wins, even if
it's not the majority.
it's not a majority.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes so much more sense.
I'm glad it's clear now.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay. And I can see how
And you can see how that
could really affect like the outcome of an election.
It changes everything. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool.
And it goes even further.
Oh, really?
It talks about the concept of balance of power in democracies.
Okay, so that's like
Yeah, like how different branches of government
that like no one has.
kind of keep each other in check.
Too much power.
Yeah,
Right?
nobody gets too powerful.
Okay.
Yeah, and it stresses the importance of an impartial judiciary.
Right. So the judges are
Fair and unbiased.
fair.
Okay? It's all about making sure
Right.
the system is fair for everyone.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like they
did a good job
is taking these big concepts
I like it.
and making them digestible.
Yeah, making them make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
You feel smarter?
I do feel a little smarter
Yes.
about politics now.
That's what we want. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we've gone through,
So we've done law,
we've done the
and
economy,
then politics,
politics.
but we're not done.
Oh, there's more.
There's more.
Okay, hit me.
All right, so next, we're going into the future.
Oh my goodness.
We're going into science and technology.
Okay.
Get ready.
All right, science and technology.
Yes.
Here we go.
This is a good one.
This is where I think
I think so too.
Vocab Advanced 2010.pdf really shines.
It does. It's not just about defining the terms. It's about understanding how science and technology are shaping our world and maybe even like predicting where we're going next.
Ooh, I like that. A little
glimpse into the future.
glimpse into the future.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do we even begin
Where do we begin?
with such a massive topic?
It is a big one.
It is huge. Is this where we get into all that like fancy science jargon.
You might encounter some,
Okay.
but
Wow.
don't worry. It breaks it down really nicely.
Okay.
It starts with like
Okay.
the fundamental building blocks of science.
Okay.
Like, cells,
Right.
atoms,
Mm-hmm.
gravity,
Gravity. Yeah.
galaxies,
Okay.
all that good stuff.
The basics.
Basics, yeah.
Okay. I think I can handle that.
I think you can.
But I have a feeling
But
it gets a little more complicated.
It does get more complex.
Okay.
Yeah, like we get into things like
Engineering.
genetic engineering,
Ooh. Good.
which is like,
Right.
manipulating the building blocks of life.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's a big one.
And cloning,
Yes.
which I feel like brings up
Which brings up
a lot of ethical questions.
so many ethical questions
Yeah.
about identity and,
Like, what does it even mean
what does it mean to be human?
to be human?
Yeah.
It's a big one.
Yeah. So it's pretty amazing
It is. To think about how far
how far we've come.
we've come.
Yeah.
But I also wonder, like,
Makes you wonder.
are we opening Pandora's box?
Right. Like, are we going too far?
Yeah.
It's a valid question.
Yeah, and I think
That's why
this is why this vocabulary is so important.
vocab is so important.
Because we need to be able to
You need to be able to talk about it.
talk about it.
Yes.
Like, intelligently.
Exactly.
And, like, have these,
have these conversations
Okay.
and weigh the pros and cons.
right, like automation, for example.
Okay. Automation. Good one.
On one hand, it
Could be amazing.
like free up our time.
Right. More
But on
efficient.
the other hand, it's like,
But
then that happens to the workers.
exactly what happens to the jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big questions.
Big question.
And we need the words.
We need the language.
Yeah. To talk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's not just about automation, though.
Okay, what else?
There's so much more in this section.
Oh, there's more.
Like, we've got artificial intelligence,
Okay.
which is like already here.
Right, it's happening.
It's happening. And
Yeah.
then there's like nanotechnology.
Nanotechnology,
Right.
just like,
I don't even know.
it's like manipulating matter
Okay.
at the atomic level.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
That sounds like,
It sounds like sci-fi, but it's
Yeah.
becoming more and more real.
wow.
And we need the words to talk about it.
Yeah, to understand it.
And understand it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel like
Like your brain needs an upgrade.
I need like a brain upgrade.
Yeah.
Okay, but speaking of like
Okay.
the future of the planet,
Yes.
we're talking about all this cool technology, but like what about the environment?
That's a huge question.
It is.
And this document doesn't shy away from it.
Okay.
It dives right into terms like
Okay.
climate change,
Right.
pollution,
Yes.
renewable energy,
Yeah, the important stuff.
the big stuff, yeah.
And it's crazy to think it is crazy. Those words are like in our everyday vocabulary now.
They're everywhere,
Yeah, which means like
which means these issues
these are big issues.
are real.
Yeah.
They're important.
Very real.
We got to talk about them.
Yeah, and the fact that we're
Talking about them.
and I think it's good that
Talking about them means
yeah.
like we're becoming more aware.
Yeah, more aware and
What?
we're having those conversations.
Yeah, we are.
So that's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it seems like
It does seem like
technology could be
technology could be part of the solution.
part of the solution.
Yeah.
Right? Like I see it talks about
Yeah.
genetically modified crops,
Mhm.
sustainable development.
Yes.
It's all connected.
It is all connected.
So it really is like
it's a reminder that
technology is a tool.
technology is a tool.
And it's like, how are we
Yeah.
going to use it?
How are we going to use it?
Right.
Yeah. Hey, big question.
Okay, we're going through all of this.
Yeah, what are you thinking?
I feel like I've had
Like a mental workout.
a mental workout.
Yeah.
It's making me think about
Makes me think about
how powerful language is.
language is powerful and
Yeah.
having the right words.
Yeah, like if you have
Can make all the difference.
the right words, you can
You can express yourself better.
express yourself,
You can understand better.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm so with you on that.
It's been a journey.
It has been a journey.
And Vocab Advanced 2010.pdf.
I know it's so much more
It's so much more
than just a list of words.
There's just a list.
Yeah.
It's like
It's like a key
they gave us this key
to
to
unlock
unlock all these
our
different
different worlds.
worlds and ideas.
Yeah, from law and order to the economy
To science and technology.
to the human experience. Like,
It's amazing.
that's pretty cool.
So I'm walking away from this deep
Yeah.
dive
Yeah.
feeling very inspired.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And to our listeners,
Yep.
thank you for joining us
Thank you, guys.
on this deep dive into vocabulary.
We hope you learned a lot.
We hope you had fun.
Yes, we did too.
We did.
Yeah.
Until next time,
See you next time.
keep those brains buzzing
Keep learning.
and keep those words flowing.
All right. So, sometimes I feel like I'm stuck in a bit of a vocabulary rut, using the same words day after day.
I know what you mean.
But I was looking at this guide to 20 advanced words, the kind that, can really make you sound smarter in everyday conversations.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be fun to kind of deep dive into some of these words.
I think that's a great idea. It's not just about sounding smart, though, right?
Right.
It's more about expressing yourself with more precision and nuance. And honestly, even understanding how other people are using language to kind of persuade you or inform you.
Right. Yeah. It's like you can be more persuasive and also not be persuaded by other people.
Exactly.
So we're not aiming to turn everyone into Shakespeare here.
No.
But I bet you'd be surprised how many of these words you've already encountered without realizing, how much they can elevate your communication.
Absolutely. And that's actually what's so interesting about this particular set of words. They're not pulled from some obscure academic journal or something like that.
Right.
They're words that appear in everyday conversations, articles, books, you name it.
Yeah.
So knowing them inside and out, that really makes you a better speaker.
Yeah.
But it also makes you a more critical listener at the same time.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's like having a secret decoder ring for the English language.
I like that.
Yeah. So let's unlock some of these words.
Okay.
What's our first one?
Well, we'll start with intriguing. Now, on the surface, it just means very interesting.
Yeah.
But think about the difference between saying, that movie sounds interesting.
Right.
Versus, that movie sounds intriguing.
Ooh, yeah. Intriguing definitely has more weight to it.
Right.
It's like you're saying that movie has hooked your curiosity and you need to know more.
Precisely. It suggests a much deeper level of engagement. You're not just passively interested. You're actively drawn in.
It's almost like intriguing implies there's a mystery to unravel.
Yeah, there's something more to it.
Yeah. Okay, what's next on our list?
Let's go with diligent, meaning showing care and perseverance in your work. Now, you could easily just say someone is hardworking, but diligent, that carries a different connotation, doesn't it?
It does. Hardworking just sounds like putting in the hours. But diligent, like you said, it makes me think of someone who's truly dedicated to their work.
Exactly.
Who really takes pride in what they're doing.
And that distinction can make all the difference, especially in like a professional setting.
Oh, totally.
Imagine you're describing a colleague to your boss, right? Diligent paints a much more impressive picture.
Right. It subtly implies that they go above and beyond just the bare minimum.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm already feeling my vocabulary muscles getting stronger. What's word number 3?
Let's tackle one we all know too well. Tedious.
Yes.
Meaning, of course, boring and repetitive, something that just seems to drag on forever.
Yeah. Tedious is the perfect word for that stack of paperwork on my desk.
Oh, I know.
Or that meeting that could have been an email.
Exactly. But the reason this word is so useful is that it allows you to express that feeling of boredom.
Right.
In a more sophisticated way.
So instead of just groaning that something's boring, using tedious actually makes you sound more articulate.
Precisely.
Right.
And it also allows you to be more specific about, what kind of boredom you're experiencing.
Okay.
Tedious implies a sense of monotony, of having to do something repetitive and unchallenging.
That's a good point. It's like saying, this is boring and it's making me feel drained because it's just so mindless.
Right. And by using that kind of nuanced language, you're really signaling to others that you're thoughtful and attentive to detail, even when you're describing something, negative.
Okay, I can definitely see how that could come in handy. Let's keep going.
Okay.
What's our next word?
This one's a big one, and we hear it used a lot, especially these days. Unprecedented. It means, quite simply, never done or known before.
This is definitely a word that carries a lot of weight, especially in the news.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like every other day there's some unprecedented event happening.
I know, right? But that's why it's so important to understand its true meaning.
Okay.
Unprecedented isn't just about something being new or different. It's about something being truly groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Something that breaks the mold.
So it's not just about a change, it's about a truly significant shift.
Exactly.
That's never, ever been seen before.
It's about recognizing those moments in history or in science or culture.
Yeah.
That just completely change the game.
And by using unprecedented correctly, we can avoid kind of diluting its power and make sure that it's used only when it's truly warranted.
Absolutely. It's about using language with precision and impact.
Okay. That's 4 words down, 16 to go.
Wow, we're making progress.
I know, I'm feeling more confident already.
That's great to hear.
What's up next?
Let's aim for completeness with comprehensive.
Okay.
This word signals that something is complete, thorough,
Uh-huh.
including all the necessary details.
So instead of just, asking for a report, I could ask for a comprehensive report.
Yes.
Meaning I want all the data, all the analysis, no stone unturned.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And imagine, like, you're reading a review of some new gadget, right?
Uh-huh.
A comprehensive review that would cover all its features, the pros and cons,
Yeah.
comparisons to other similar products, and so on.
It's like saying, give me the full picture, leave nothing out.
Precisely. Comprehensive just implies a level of depth
Yeah.
and thoroughness that goes, beyond the surface.
I can see this word being useful in all sorts of situations.
Oh, yeah,
Work, research, even just planning a trip.
absolutely.
Okay, what's word number 6?
Let's get a little more nuanced here
Okay.
with subtle.
Okay.
This word describes something that's not obvious,
Uh-huh.
delicate, or understated.
Ooh, subtle is a good one. It's like in noticing those little details that most people might miss.
Yeah.
Like a subtle hint of spice in a dish, or a subtle change in someone's mood.
Exactly. And this word is all about being perceptive,
Uh-huh.
about paying attention to the fine details.
Yeah.
It suggests a level of awareness and understanding
Yeah.
that goes beyond the superficial.
I love that. It's like saying, I see what you did there,
Yeah.
but in a much more sophisticated way.
Exactly. Subtle implies a deeper level of observation
Yeah.
and insight.
Like, this is great. We're already starting to unpack some really interesting words here.
I know, this is fun.
What's up next?
This one might hit a little close to home for us. Jargon. It refers to the specialized language used by a particular group or profession.
Oh, yeah. I think we're all guilty of using jargon sometimes. It's so easy to fall into that trap,
I know.
especially when you're talking to people in your own field.
But being aware of jargon and knowing when to avoid it, that is crucial for effective communication.
Yeah.
Think about it. Have you ever been in a conversation where you felt completely lost
Oh, yeah.
because everyone was just using all these technical terms that you just didn't understand?
Absolutely. It's like they're speaking a different language.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel so excluded
Yes.
or even intimidated,
Exactly. So while jargon can be useful, within a specific group,
Yeah.
it's important to remember that clear, simple language.
Uh-huh.
That's usually the best way to communicate with a wider audience.
Right. It's about making sure that everyone is on the same page, regardless of their background or expertise. Okay, what's word number 8 on our list?
Let's talk about ambitious,
Okay.
a word that often gets thrown around. But do we really understand its full meaning?
Mhm.
It's more than just wanting to succeed.
Yeah.
It's about having this strong desire to achieve something truly significant.
So it's not just about climbing the corporate ladder. It's about setting goals that are truly challenging and meaningful.
Exactly. Think about it. You could say that someone's ambitious because they want to be a CEO, right?
Right.
But you could also say that a scientific research project is ambitious
Mm-hmm.
because it aims to solve some major global problem.
So ambitious can apply to individuals and their goals,
Yeah,
but also to projects, ideas, even entire organizations.
absolutely. It's about setting the bar high and striving for something that pushes the boundaries.
I like that. It's about aiming for excellence, for making a real impact.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep this vocabulary train rolling. What's word number 9?
This one's crucial in our increasingly interconnected world. Empathy.
Okay.
The ability to understand and share the feelings of others.
Empathy is more than just sympathy, right? It's about truly putting yourself in someone else's shoes and seeing the world from their perspective.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that everyone has their own unique experiences and perspectives and being able to connect with them on like an emotional level.
I can see how empathy is essential in so many areas of life, from personal relationships to professional settings to even just navigating society as a whole.
Absolutely. It allows us to build stronger relationships, resolve conflicts more effectively,
Yeah.
and just create a more compassionate and understanding world.
All right, we're almost through our first 10 words.
I know. Can you believe it?
What's the last one we'll tackle in this section?
Let's finish with reluctant.
Okay.
It describes someone who's unwilling or hesitant to do something.
I feel like I use this word all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm reluctant to try that new restaurant because I've heard mixed reviews.
Yeah, exactly. Or he was reluctant to share his ideas because he was afraid of being criticized.
It's about expressing a sense of hesitation or reservation without being outright, negative or dismissive.
Right. And sometimes that hesitation, it's warranted.
Totally.
Reluctant can signal that you need more information or convincing before you're ready to fully commit.
Okay, so we've covered 10 fantastic words already.
I know, it's amazing.
I can already feel my communication skills leveling up.
Me too.
But this is just the beginning, right?
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
We've got 10 more words to explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh yeah, we're just getting started. Welcome back. I hope you've got your mental dictionaries ready.
Yeah.
Because we're about to unlock 10 more powerful words.
Okay.
That can add some serious punch to your vocabulary.
I'm ready to expand my linguistic horizons even further.
Excellent.
What's the first word we're tackling in this round?
Let's start with elaborate, which means to explain something in greater detail.
Okay.
Think of it as going beyond the surface level, really fleshing out your thoughts.
I can see how elaborate would be useful in so many situations. Like if someone gives a presentation with a really interesting idea, you could say, "That sounds fascinating. Can you elaborate on that point?"
Exactly. It's a great way to encourage deeper discussion and get to the heart of a matter. You're signaling that you're not just passively listening,
Right.
but you're actively seeking a more comprehensive understanding.
It's like saying, "Tell me more, I'm all ears."
I love it.
Okay, what's next on our list of vocabulary power-ups?
Let's embrace a little bit of the unexpected with spontaneous.
Okay.
This word describes something done without planning,
Right.
something impulsive and in the moment.
Ooh, I love a good dose of spontaneity. It's like throwing caution to the wind and just going with the flow.
And sometimes, those spontaneous decisions, those lead to the most memorable experiences.
For sure.
Think about it. Have you ever just taken a spontaneous road trip?
Oh, yeah.
Or decided on a whim to try a new restaurant?
Yes. And those are often the stories I end up telling over and over again.
Yeah.
Right? It's like spontaneity injects a little bit of magic into life.
I completely agree. It keeps things interesting. It allows us to break free from our routines.
Okay, I'm feeling energized by that word. What's next on our list?
Let's come back down to earth a little bit.
Okay.
With mundane, which describes something ordinary, routine.
Yeah.
Or even a bit boring.
I think we all experience those moments of mundanity in our lives.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the everyday stuff that we just have to get through.
But here's the interesting thing about mundane. It's all about perspective. What one person finds mundane, another person might actually find comforting.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or even enjoyable.
That's a good point. Like, I find folding laundry to be incredibly mundane, but my partner actually finds it really relaxing.
Exactly. So while mundane, might have these kind of negative connotations, it's important to remember that it's subjective.
Yeah.
What matters is how we choose to approach those everyday tasks.
Right.
And find meaning in them.
Okay, I like that reframing of mundane. It's a reminder to find the silver lining, even in those, most ordinary moments. What's our next word?
Let's get real with candid.
Okay.
Which means open, honest, and straightforward.
Candid. I appreciate people who are candid. Even when it's not always easy to hear, it shows a level of authenticity and respect,
And that candid communication, that is crucial for building trust. And strong relationships.
Totally.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Would you rather someone sugarcoat their feedback or just be upfront and honest with you?
Oh, definitely upfront and honest.
Yeah.
It might be uncomfortable in the moment.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's so much more helpful.
Yeah.
And productive.
Exactly. Candid allows for real conversations to happen.
Yeah.
We can learn and grow from each other's perspectives.
Okay. I'm ready for our next word. What have you got?
Let's find some relief.
Okay.
With alleviate, which means to reduce or relieve pain, difficulty, or stress.
Ooh, alleviate feels like a very soothing word. Like taking a deep breath and feeling the tension just melt away.
I love that. Think about it in different contexts. Like, a doctor might prescribe medication to alleviate a patient's pain. A government might implement policies to alleviate poverty.
Right.
Or even on a personal level, you could say, listening to music helps me alleviate stress.
Exactly. Alleviate can be applied to such a wide range of situations.
Oh, yeah.
From physical discomfort to emotional distress to societal problems. It's about taking action to make things better.
Yes. to ease burdens.
Okay, we're over halfway through our second set of words.
I know, this is going by fast.
What's next on our vocabulary adventure?
Let's talk about versatile, which describes something or someone who's adaptable,
Okay.
able to be used or function in many different ways.
Oh, versatile is a great word to have in your arsenal, especially in today's world where adaptability is so highly valued.
Absolutely. Think about, like a chef who can cook any cuisine, or like a tool that can be used for multiple tasks. That's versatility in action.
It's about being resourceful, adaptable, being able to pivot and thrive in different situations.
And in a world that's constantly changing, versatile individuals and organizations, they have a distinct advantage. They can navigate challenges and seize opportunities with, greater ease.
Okay, I'm making a note to add versatile to my resume. What's up next?
Let's acknowledge those moments of unplanned action.
Okay.
With impulsive, meaning acting without thinking about the consequences.
Oh, impulsive. That can be both exciting and a little bit dangerous.
That's right.
Sometimes those spur-of-the-moment decisions lead to these amazing adventures, and other times, not so much.
It's true. Impulsivity can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It can lead to spontaneity, excitement, but it can also lead to regret if we're not careful.
I think it's about finding that balance between being open to new experiences and making sure we're not acting recklessly,
Exactly. And sometimes a little bit of planning can go a long way in preventing those impulsive decisions from backfiring.
Okay, I'm ready for our next word. What have we got?
Let's vent a little.
Okay.
With frustrating.
Okay.
Which describes something that causes annoyance or disappointment.
Oh, frustrating. We've all been there.
Oh, yes.
Those moments when things just don't go our way.
Yeah.
Or we encounter obstacles that seem impossible to overcome.
But here's the thing about frustration. It can actually be a powerful motivator.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. When you're frustrated by a problem, you're more likely to put in the effort to solve it.
That's a good point. It's like frustration can fuel our creativity and our problem-solving skills.
Exactly. So next time you're feeling frustrated, try to channel that energy into finding a solution, into overcoming the challenge.
Okay, we're down to our last two words in this set.
I know, I can't believe it.
What's up next?
Get ready to be captivated by compelling, which describes something that evokes interest, attention, or admiration.
I love the word compelling. It's like a magnet,
Yeah.
It draws you in and makes you want to learn more.
Think about a book that you just couldn't put down.
Oh, yeah.
Or like a speech that left you feeling so inspired. Those are examples of compelling content.
It's about creating something that truly resonates with people,
Yeah.
that leaves a lasting impact.
And it's not just limited to words, like a compelling piece of art, a compelling performance,
Yeah.
even a compelling personality. All of those can have that same magnetic effect.
Okay, on to our final word for this segment.
All right, let's do it.
What do we got?
Let's conclude with the power of resilience.
Okay.
With resilient, meaning able to recover quickly from difficulties or setbacks. It's about bouncing back from challenges.
Yeah.
Stronger than before.
Resilient is such an important quality to have, especially in today's world, where we're constantly facing uncertainty and change.
Absolutely. Think about it. Resilient people, they don't let setbacks define them.
Right?
They learn from their mistakes. They adapt to new situations.
Yeah.
And they just keep moving forward.
It's about having that inner strength and determination to overcome obstacles and come out on the other side.
Yeah.
Even stronger than before.
Exactly. Resilience is about embracing challenges as opportunities for growth.
Yeah.
And using them to fuel, our personal development.
Okay, we've explored another 10 amazing words. I'm feeling so empowered by this expanded vocabulary. But before we move on, I'm curious. Which word from this set really resonated with you?
It's hard to choose just one. So many of them feel so relevant to everyday life. But I think resilient, that one's really sticking with me.
Yeah, I can see why.
It's such a powerful reminder that we can bounce back from challenges,
It is. And it ties in nicely with something we've been highlighting throughout this whole deep dive, right?
Learning and using these words, it isn't just about, sounding smarter.
Right.
It's about equipping yourself to navigate the world more effectively.
It's like we're giving our listeners a toolbox.
Yeah.
Filled with these linguistic power tools.
I like that analogy. And just like any good toolbox, it's important to keep adding new tools, right?
Right.
as you encounter new challenges and situations.
So this deep dive, it's really just the beginning, right?
It is.
It's about sparking curiosity and encouraging our listeners to keep exploring, this vast and fascinating world of language.
A lifelong journey.
So where can our listeners go from here? What are some, practical tips for expanding their vocabularies even further?
Well, there are so many great resources available these days. You could start a word of the day ritual, subscribe to those online dictionaries or like etymology blogs.
Oh, yeah.
Or even just make a conscious effort to pay attention to the language used in your favorite books, podcasts, movies.
I love that idea of making it a daily habit.
Yeah.
It's like a mini workout for your brain,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Flexing those linguistic muscles.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to use those new words in your own conversations, right?
Right.
The more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
That's such an important point. It's not enough to just memorize the definitions.
Right.
We need to actually put these words into practice,
To
really make them our own.
Think of it this way. Every new word you learn, it's like adding a new color to your palette. It gives you more options for expressing yourself with nuance and precision.
So before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a bit of a challenge.
Okay.
What's one word you learned today that you're going to commit to using in a conversation this week?
Ooh, that's a good one. And I would add to that, how will using that word change the way you communicate? The way you're perceived?
Yeah.
Or even the way you think?
That's a great question to ponder. Remember, the power of language is immense. It shapes our thoughts, influences our actions, and connects us to each other.
It really does.
So go forth, listeners, and wield those words with confidence and intention.
I love it.
That's it for our deep dive into 20 advanced words you can use every day.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, happy wordsmithing.
When you hear certain words, don't they just kind of bring that holiday feeling to life? We're going to dive into some Christmas vocabulary today.
Yeah.
But we're going deeper than just, dictionary definitions.
Right.
We're really trying to see how these words reflect, like, culture and tradition.
Absolutely. I think that language is such a good window into how people experience the world.
Yeah.
And that's definitely true for holidays like Christmas, for sure.
Okay, so we've got 19 of these most useful Christmas words to unpack.
Okay.
From the source material you sent over. And some are pretty familiar, like festive and carol.
Right.
But I have a feeling that even those have kind of some hidden depths.
Oh, for sure. You'd be surprised at how much history and nuance is packed into those everyday words.
Yeah.
For example, festive isn't limited to just Christmas.
Right.
It speaks to a much broader human need for celebration and ritual.
That's interesting. Yeah. I've always associated carols with religious celebrations mostly, but I can see how they've evolved into something more than that over time.
Oh, absolutely. Carols have their roots in ancient traditions, and they served as a form of storytelling and even social commentary back then.
Wow. And some carols still use that beautiful old word, Yuletide, right?
Yeah.
Seems like we're bringing back some of those older terms.
There's definitely a renewed appreciation for the language of tradition.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me, we've got tinsel, bauble, and ornament on our list.
Oh, yeah.
These words bring up a lot of sensory memories, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Especially tinsel. Who hasn't spent like an hour untangling that stuff?
Yay.
Oh, my goodness. And speaking of decorations, did you know there's actually a difference between bauble and ornament?
That's right. Bauble is more common in British English, while ornament is the more general term.
Okay.
And the source actually gives us the example. The tree looks beautiful with all the ornaments.
Yeah. The source also mentions gift exchange.
Yeah.
The way we exchange gifts really shapes the whole Christmas experience, doesn't it? Whether it's a big family gathering or just a quiet exchange of small tokens of appreciation.
Yeah. It's fascinating how gift-giving traditions vary across cultures.
Yeah.
And even within families. The word exchange itself implies a kind of reciprocity, but that can take so many different forms.
Right. There are some real cultural gems on this list.
Yeah.
Like mulled wine.
Yeah.
Now, that's a word that instantly warms me up.
Right.
Have you ever tried a Christmas cracker, though?
The Christmas cracker. It's a fun British tradition where you pull apart a paper tube with another person. It makes a little pop. And inside you find a small gift, a paper crown.
Wow.
And often a joke or a riddle.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
The source says, we pulled crackers before starting our Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
Maybe we should try that tradition sometime.
I think you'd enjoy it. Speaking of traditions, we can't forget the words that represent, like, the heart of Christmas, nativity and reindeer.
Those really capture the two sides of Christmas, don't they? The religious story and the more whimsical, fantastical elements.
Yeah.
Like Santa Claus and flying reindeer and all that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's amazing how those two words, nativity and reindeer, can evoke such different images and emotions, right?
Yeah.
The nativity scene with its quiet reverence.
Right.
And then reindeer representing the magic and excitement of, like, Christmas Eve.
Right. And speaking of reindeer, I can't help but think of Rudolph.
Oh, of course.
You know, Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer.
Right.
Our source even points it out. Rudolph is the most famous reindeer of all.
Of course, he's become a cultural icon in his own right,
He has.
symbolizing acceptance and the idea that what makes you different can also make you extraordinary.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That ties in nicely with the word holly, don't you think?
Yeah,
It's not just a decoration. It's a symbol of hope and resilience in the middle of winter.
that's a great observation. Holly has been associated with Christmas for centuries,
Really?
and the source provides a lovely example of its use. We decorated the table with holly and candles. It really adds a festive touch, doesn't it?
It does. It's interesting how certain plants become so intertwined with specific times of year.
Right.
Like you mentioned earlier, language really does reflect our relationship with the natural world.
Absolutely. We also have sleigh on our list,
Oh, yeah.
which evokes a very specific image of winter travel, especially when you consider the source's mention of a horse-drawn sleigh.
It's a classic image, isn't it?
Yeah.
The horse-drawn sleigh, the snow falling softly.
Yeah.
It's like a scene from a Christmas card.
Yeah.
That makes me think of the word frosty,
Yeah.
which is so evocative of that crisp winter air.
Frosty really captures that sensory experience of Christmas.
Yeah.
The source paints a perfect picture with its example. The frosty morning was perfect for building a snowman.
And who doesn't love a good snowman? Though I have to admit, my favorite winter activity might involve an advent calendar.
Oh, yeah.
Those little doors hiding daily treats.
Yeah.
It's all about the anticipation.
Right.
What are some unique advent calendar traditions you've come across?
When I was younger, my family had a handmade advent calendar with tiny pockets,
Oh, wow.
and each day held a little note or a small treat. It wasn't about the grandeur of the gifts, but the small moments of joy leading up to Christmas.
That's so heartwarming.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that the essence of the holidays isn't always about material things,
Right.
It's about those shared experiences and traditions.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to something we touched on earlier, how language shapes our understanding of Christmas.
We've only just scratched the surface, haven't we?
Right.
But exploring these 19 words has shown us how vocabulary can be a powerful tool for understanding tradition history.
Yeah.
And even the different ways people experience the holidays.
It's like each word is a little window into the vast and varied world of Christmas traditions.
Yeah.
And I think it's time to open one more window. Remember how we talked about adding like one word to this list?
Yeah.
A word that really captures the essence of Christmas for you?
Yeah, that's the real heart of this whole deep dive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just about learning new words. It's about reflecting on what those words mean to us personally.
Exactly. And thinking about that one word, that personal touchstone for the holidays,
Right.
it can really spark some interesting conversations.
Yeah.
What word comes to mind for you?
For me, it might be generosity.
Oh,
It's about that spirit of giving,
Yeah.
not just material gifts, but also our time, kindness, and compassion.
that's a beautiful choice. And it really does remind me of something we've kind of seen throughout this whole exploration of Christmas vocabulary.
Yeah.
How these words connect us to something bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely. Whether it's the sense of community evoked by Carol
Yeah.
or the historical depth of Yuletide,
Right.
these words carry echoes of shared experiences and traditions.
And even a simple word like frosty can transport us back to childhood memories
Right.
of snowy days and winter wonder.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I encourage you to hold on to that word you chose, that word that encapsulates the spirit of Christmas for you.
Yeah.
Let it guide you through this season and maybe even share it with someone else.
Yeah, I like that. Because sometimes the most meaningful conversations
Right.
start with a single word from both of us.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Hey, everyone. Super stoked to have you all here as we kind of like really jump into this topic. I know you're all obsessed with, mastering English.
That's a pretty big deal, right?
Totally. So we're going to be dissecting this awesome guide called, A Comprehensive 1-Hour Guide. And not just like summarizing it,
Oh, wait.
but pulling out the gems, those like super motivating nuggets to keep you going on your English journey.
And this guide, I gotta say, it's not your typical, like, learn English in 5 minutes kind of thing.
Ugh, those drive me crazy.
Yeah. It goes deeper, looks at the psychology, like why we struggle, how to rewire our thinking,
Totally. And we'll uncover some surprising things too.
You bet.
Like, did you know even native speakers mess up sometimes?
Yeah.
And like watching Friends can be educational. Who knew?
Right. It's about finding what works for you, and this guide's like this toolbox of different approaches, so.
I'm excited to dig in. But first, like the big WHY, right? Want to put in the effort.
The guide starts with this idea of open doors to opportunities, and they use this travel example. Imagine you're like in a bustling market in, I don't know, Morocco or something.
Oh, I love Morocco.
Right. And you can haggle prices, ask for directions, actually connect with people, not just gestures,
That's the dream. But it's bigger than just travel, right?
Way bigger. Think global communication, business, ideas. English is like the key to this whole network.
So it's becoming a citizen of the world, kind of. Love that. The guide also talks about building confidence. We know learning anything new does that. But why is it special with language?
Well, language is how we express ourselves, connect. It's part of our identity, right? So the more you practice English, the more confident you become, not just in the language, but in yourself, navigating the world.
It's like that moment when you realize you understand a whole conversation without translating in your head. Bam.
Total mind-blown moment. And speaking of unlocking things, there's this point about cultural connection that really hit me.
We do. It's huge. Imagine enjoying movies, books, music, all that without the language barrier. Like,
you get it, right? It's like gaining access to this whole new world of art and entertainment, that feeling when you get a joke in your favorite show without subtitles. Magic.
Pure magic. But let's be real. It's not all sunshine and roses. There are bumps in the road.
Definitely.
And the guide dives into those common obstacles. And one that probably hits everyone is, lack of time.
Oh, tell me about it.
Right. Between work, life, just existing, finding time to practice feels impossible.
And that's where the guide gets really interesting. It debunks this myth that you need hours each day, like some kind of language hermit.
No thanks.
Yeah, they emphasize consistency over intensity. Even 15, 20 minutes consistently can make a huge difference. It's about using those little pockets of time we all have.
That is so reassuring. Because I think a lot of people get scared off thinking they got to like quit their job to learn English.
Exactly.
The other big one, and this one I'll admit gets to me, is fear of mistakes.
Oh yeah, that can be paralyzing.
It is. Like I freeze up thinking about making a mistake. So what does the guide say about that?
Well, it's all about a mindset shift. Mistakes aren't failures. They're like stepping stones, proof you're learning,
I love that. Takes the pressure off because honestly, who's perfect?
Nobody. The guide uses this analogy of learning to ride a bike. You're going to wobble, maybe fall, but each time you get back on, you're getting better.
Yeah.
Language is similar. Every mistake means you're pushing your boundaries. That's where the magic happens.
Okay, feeling pumped already. We've got the why, busted some myths. Now for the fun part, those game-changing techniques to make learning not just bearable, but enjoyable. What's the guide got for us?
Buckle up because it's about to get interesting. So the guide jumps into these practical tips to stay motivated. And, it all starts with something that seems obvious, but we often miss it. Setting clear goals.
Ugh, goals. Isn't that like generic self-help stuff? I feel like I hear that everywhere.
Yeah. I hear ya, but the guide gets specific. It's not just learn English. It's about how to set goals for language learning, using frameworks that work.
Frameworks. Okay, now I'm curious. Give me the deets.
So they talk about short-term and long-term goals, which makes sense, but it goes deeper, like using the SMART goal method.
SMART goals, I've heard of those, but how's that language specific?
Instead of like become fluent, which is super vague, a SMART goal could be learn 10 business English words every day for a month and use them in practice conversations twice a week.
Whoa, that's way more concrete. I can actually picture that. It's like actionable.
Exactly. And that's what keeps us motivated, seeing those small wins,
Totally.
Yeah.
Makes sense. The guide also talks about making learning fun, which we touched on earlier with that whole cultural connection thing.
Right. Because if it feels like a chore, you're going to quit.
100%. So how do we tap into that enjoyment factor, make it feel less like study and more like, I don't know, playtime?
Well, they suggest using your passions, Instead of forcing yourself to read boring textbooks, immerse yourself in English content you actually enjoy.
So like Guilt-free Netflix binging. Sign me up.
Exactly. Think about your favorite shows, movies, music, YouTube, all that can be learning, sneaky learning, but it works.
Love it. But what about if I'm not quite ready to, like, watch a whole movie in English without subtitles? Baby steps, right?
Totally. They got you covered. Start with something familiar, a show you've already seen in your native language, put on the English subtitles, and boom.
You're learning without realizing it.
Right. Because you already know the story, you can focus on the language itself.
That's so smart. And as you get better, ditch the subtitles. Just enjoy the show.
And don't forget music and podcasts. Great for training your ear, picking up slang, the real life stuff.
Which, hey, that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
See, you're already learning just by listening.
Exactly. But we can take it up a notch. Remember that active listening thing. It's not just about letting the sounds wash over you.
Yeah, it's like engaging with it, right? What were those specific techniques again?
So taking notes while listening, jot down new words, phrases, or summarize what you've heard in your own words. It's like a mental workout.
Brain gains. Love it. But let's be real. Life's busy. How do we actually fit in consistent practice? I feel like I'm always saying, I'll do it tomorrow.
That's where micro-learning comes in. The guide is all about it. Instead of needing huge chunks of time, it's about using those little moments we all have.
Micro-learning. Gimme those mini hacks.
Okay, so imagine instead of scrolling social media on your commute, you listen to an English podcast. Or while you're waiting in line, you review flashcards on your phone.
It's like sneaking in learning without even trying.
Exactly. It's about being intentional with those little bits of time we usually waste.
Mind blown. And speaking of things that are everywhere these days, what about those language learning apps? Are they legit or just fancy games?
They can be super helpful, especially for building vocabulary and grammar. Plus, that gamified element keeps things fun, right?
But how do we avoid just clicking through mindlessly, not really absorbing anything?
It's all about being strategic. Don't treat them as a quick fix. Use them to reinforce what you're learning elsewhere, like from reading or conversations.
So it's finding that balance between structured learning and just immersing yourself in English, right?
Bingo. And speaking of immersion, the guide gets pretty wild with it, suggesting ways to make English a part of your daily life without even thinking about it.
Ooh, tell me more.
One of the simplest but most effective. Change your phone and computer settings to English. Boom, you're navigating menus, reading notifications, all in English.
Sneaky. It's like tricking your brain into thinking in English.
Totally. They also suggest going beyond just watching and listening, get involved in online communities, follow English-speaking influencers, real-life exposure.
So it's like a holistic immersion, bringing English into your digital world.
Exactly. But what about those who are ready to level up, go beyond the basics, really refine those skills? The guide has some advanced tricks up its sleeve. Yeah, for those ready to really dive in, the guide has this section called Advanced Techniques for Improvement. And it all starts with, oh boy, the one that makes most people nervous? Speaking?
Ugh, yeah, tell me about it. I used to get, full-on panic attacks thinking about speaking English.
It's a big hurdle for sure, but the guy, it kind of reframes it. It's not about being perfect. It's about realizing speaking practice is the key to unlocking fluency.
Makes sense, I guess, because you can read and understand, but actually talking is a whole other piece.
Right. It's putting all those pieces together, thinking on your feet. It's where the rubber meets the road.
Okay, so speaking is important. Got it. But how do we actually get better without, dying of embarrassment? Any baby steps we can take?
They suggest language exchange groups, finding other learners who are also practicing.
Ooh, so it's like misery loves company.
Kinda. But it's more about creating this safe space, No judgment. Everyone's in the same boat.
I like that. Takes the pressure off. Any specific places to find these language buddies?
They mention some online platforms like Tandem and HelloTalk. They connect you with people worldwide. You can text, voice call, even video chat, whatever you're comfortable with.
That's cool. So it's like having pen pals, but for speaking practice.
Exactly. And another tip, this one might feel awkward, but it's super helpful. Recording yourself speaking.
Oh, no, not the dreaded self-recording. I always cringe listening back.
I know, right? But it's like having a mirror for your speech. You can hear those little things you might not notice otherwise, like pronunciation, fluency, all that.
Okay, so maybe it's worth the cringe. It's like having a personal coach, but cheaper.
Exactly. And once you've tackled speaking, there's the ever-growing beast of vocabulary.
Ugh, don't even get me started. I learn new words and then they just disappear. Poof, gone.
So relatable. But the guide has some tricks for making those words stick, going beyond just memorizing. It's about like really understanding and using them.
So no more flashcards.
Well, flashcards can be helpful, but they suggest taking it a step further, using new words in context, creating your own examples, making them personal.
So instead of just reading a definition, I got to like make up a whole sentence with it.
Exactly. They even had this challenge. Learn 5 new words each day and then come up with one sentence using all 5. It's like a brain teaser.
Ooh, I like a challenge. Makes it more fun than just, staring at a word list.
Right. It's about engaging with the language, playing with it.
Love it. Speaking of engaging, what about listening? They always feel so passive, but the guide dedicates a whole section to it.
Because it's super important. Listening is the foundation. It's how we absorb everything, vocab, grammar, even cultural stuff.
True. We talked about active listening earlier, but they suggest applying it beyond just podcasts, right? What else did they mention?
Audiobooks, documentaries, even news broadcasts. The key is choosing stuff you're interested in so you actually pay attention.
Engaged learning, always the theme. And remember those notes we talked about? What about when we hear a word and we're like, wait, what was that?
It's going to happen. Don't sweat it. They emphasize focusing on the overall meaning, not getting hung up on every single word. You can always rewind, listen again. It'll click eventually.
Patience, young Padawan.
Ah!
Okay, we've covered speaking, vocab, listening, and now for the one I always dread, writing.
Ugh, yeah, the dreaded writing practice. But the guide makes it less scary. They present it as a creative outlet, a way to really solidify what you've learned.
I'm more of a talker than a writer. Any suggestions for easing into it without, having a meltdown?
They suggest starting a journal, nothing fancy, just write about your day, your thoughts, whatever. It gets you comfortable with putting those English words on paper.
So like a brain dump, but in English.
Exactly. It gets you thinking in English, practicing grammar naturally.
Okay, I can handle that. But for those ready for more, what are some next level writing challenges?
They encourage gradually expanding, from journaling to maybe short stories, emails, even participating in online forums, stuff that interests you.
So it's finding ways to make writing fun, not just a chore.
Exactly. It's all about integrating it into your life, making it enjoyable.
Love it. Wow, we covered a ton today, from the why of learning English to all these practical tips. My brain's kind of fried, but in a good way.
It's a lot to take in, but that's the beauty of this guide. It emphasizes making the journey fun. It's not about cramming or perfection. It's about finding what works for you.
Totally. It's about those little victories, understanding a song, ordering food confidently, or just connecting with someone in their language. Those are the magic moments.
The guide has this quote that sums it up perfectly. Success is the sum of small efforts, repeated day in and day out.
Consistency is key, right? It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up, taking those small steps, and over time, those steps lead to amazing things.
You got it.
Well, this deep dive has been incredible, but it's just the beginning. There's a whole world of English learning out there waiting for you to explore.
So go out there and conquer.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a question. Now that you have all these tools, what's one small action you can take today to keep that momentum going? Maybe watch a show with subtitles, learn some new words, anything. Just take that step and remember, you're capable of incredible things. Until next time, happy learning.
All right, so we're diving into these awesome English speaking tips. And guess what? We're going to use storytelling to help you guys get there. I've been really digging through all these tips, and some of them are so cool. Did you know that simply narrating your day, even just making breakfast or walking the dog, can make a huge difference? There's this story about Jane, who was super shy about speaking, but she started doing that, just narrating her day, and her fluency just took off.
It's funny, we often underestimate how powerful just those everyday activities can be. For language learning, it's all about creating a consistent habit of thinking and speaking in English.
Yeah. I used to struggle with this whole think in English thing. I'd be translating everything in my head before I could even say a word. It was exhausting. And my conversations just felt so clunky. What are some ways to actually shift your thinking into English mode?
Well, that's a common challenge. One really effective technique is to start small. So instead of trying to translate entire sentences, just focus on single words or short phrases. For example, when you see a cat, just think cat in English, not your native language. And then as you get more comfortable, gradually increase the complexity. Another helpful tip is to use visual aids. So surround yourself with English labels, posters, even sticky notes. This constant visual reminder will kind of just nudge your brain. to start thinking in English.
So it's like training your brain to make those automatic connections, right? Instead of going through that extra translation step.
Exactly. And speaking of training, the source material really emphasizes the importance of daily practice, even if it's just for like 10 or 15 minutes. The key is consistency. Think of it like working out a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And this story about Raj totally proves your point. He was really focused on improving his pronunciation. So he started imitating the dialogue from his favorite movies, paying attention to the actor's intonation and everything. And guess what? It totally worked. He started to sound so much more natural and fluent.
You know what Raj was doing was actually quite clever. He was intuitively tapping into the power of mimicry, which is like a fundamental aspect of language acquisition. When we imitate native speakers, we're not just copying sounds, we're absorbing like the subtle nuances of the language, the rhythm, the stress patterns, even the emotional tone.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's like when we learn our first language as babies, we're constantly mimicking what we hear around us. So why not apply that same principle to learning English?
Exactly. And this leads us to another crucial point that's emphasized in the source material: learning phrases, not just isolated words.
Okay, this is something I've heard before, but honestly, I never fully understood why it was so important. Can you explain a bit more about the benefits of learning phrases instead of just memorizing individual words?
Sure. So when we learn phrases, we're not just acquiring vocabulary, we're also grasping how words work together. In natural flowing speech, for example, instead of just learning the words give and hand, we learn the phrase, could you give me a hand? This teaches us like the grammatical structure, the idiomatic usage, and the natural rhythm of the language.
Oh, so those common phrases become like building blocks for conversations. It's much more efficient than trying to piece together individual words in the moment.
Exactly. Imagine trying to build a house brick by brick versus using prefabricated walls. Phrases are those prefabricated walls of language. They help you communicate more fluently and naturally. The source even gives some great examples, like what's up or how's it going?
You know, I never thought of it that way. That's actually a really helpful analogy. So instead of getting bogged down with individual words, we should focus on those everyday phrases and how they're used in context. That's a fantastic takeaway for our listeners.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the beauty of it is you encounter these phrases all the time. In movies.
Yeah.
Music. And everyday conversations. Start paying attention to them, write them down, and practice using them in your own interactions.
Yeah. I love that. All right, so we've talked about the importance of thinking in English, practicing consistently, and learning phrases. But let's get even more practical. This source has a whole section on using stories to improve fluency. And I have to admit, I was a little skeptical at first, but then they started talking about visualizing the story and really bringing it to life with details. And it clicked for me. I actually tried it with the sample story they gave about a weekend hike. And it was amazing. I felt like I was reliving the experience as I was telling the story in English. Do you find that using your senses helps you remember things better when you're learning a language?
Absolutely. Our brains are wired to remember things that are like emotionally charged and sensory rich. So when you actively engage your senses while you're telling a story in English, like the sights, sounds, smells, you're creating those stronger neural connections, making it much easier to recall the vocabulary and the grammar. It's like turning your brain into a high-definition movie studio.
I love that analogy. It makes so much sense. And speaking of making things stick, this source also recommends recording yourself speaking English. Oh, I used to cringe when I would listen back to my early recordings. But it really helped me pinpoint areas where I needed to improve. It was like having a personal language coach in my pocket.
Yeah, such a valuable tool
Yeah.
for self-assessment. You can hear your pronunciation, your intonation, the overall flow of your speech. You might notice things you weren't even aware of, like maybe using filler words too often or speaking too quickly.
Oh, totally. I used to say and like all the time. But hearing it back on a recording made me so much more conscious of it. And over time, I was able to break those habits.
Exactly. It's all about becoming aware of your own speech patterns and then making those conscious efforts to improve.
Yeah, for sure. You know, another thing that really stood out to me in these tips was the power of asking questions. It seems so simple, but it's such an effective way to keep conversations flowing and build your confidence.
Asking questions not only demonstrates like your engagement, but it also encourages the other person to share their thoughts, and experiences. It kind of takes the pressure off of you to constantly come up with things to say, and it creates a more dynamic and engaging interaction.
Right. And they suggest using those open-ended questions like, what do you think about? Or
Yeah.
how is your seat? Which is a great tip. Those kinds of questions invite more detailed responses and
Wow.
give you more opportunities to listen and learn.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions. If you don't understand something, native speakers are usually happy to explain or rephrase things. It shows that you're actively listening and you're eager to learn.
Absolutely. It's all about showing genuine interest and engaging with the conversation. Okay, one last tip from this section that I found really intriguing: expanding your vocabulary with context.
Yeah, learning new words in isolation can be a bit like trying to memorize a phone book. It's dry and it's difficult to retain. But when you encounter words in context, within sentences and stories, they come alive. They suddenly have meaning and purpose.
Yeah, they give the example of the word serene used in the sentence. The lake was serene, surrounded by mountains. And it's so true. You can instantly picture the scene and understand the feeling the word is trying to convey.
Exactly. The sentence provides clues to the meaning of the word serene. You can infer that it describes a peaceful, calm, and tranquil atmosphere. And that visual imagery helps cement the word in your memory.
Okay, so I've always kind of found the idea of role-playing a bit intimidating, but this source makes a really compelling case for it. They say it's like a dress rehearsal for real-life conversations, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's like a safe space to experiment, make mistakes, and build your confidence. Think about those situations where you might feel a little nervous using English, like ordering food, asking for directions, making a phone call. Role-play those scenarios can really help you feel more prepared and less anxious when you actually encounter them in real life.
Right. They even provide this example scenario of ordering at a cafe. Want to give it a try?
Sure.
Okay, so imagine I'm the customer and you're the barista. Okay, I'm feeling brave. I'm going to go for it. Hi there. I'd love to try one of your lattes. What would you recommend?
Okay, welcome to our cafe. We have a variety of delicious lattes. Do you prefer something sweet, or are you looking for more of a classic flavor?
I'm feeling adventurous today. What's your most unique latte?
Let's see. Our lavender honey latte is a customer favorite. It's a beautiful balance of floral and sweet notes.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I'll have that, please.
Excellent choice. One lavender honey latte coming right up.
See?
Yeah.
That wasn't so bad. I actually felt pretty comfortable using those phrases and responding in real time.
Yeah. And the more you practice, the more natural it'll become. You can even involve like friends or family members in your role plays to make it even more fun and interactive.
That's a great idea. It kind of turns language practice into a game almost. Okay, so the source also talks about the benefits of joining English-speaking communities. And they share this really cool story about Ahmed, who joined an English-speaking book club. Not only did his speaking improve, but he also made new friends and expanded his cultural horizons.
Yeah. Ahmed's story really highlights like the social and emotional benefits of language learning. You know, it's not just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about connecting with people, sharing experiences, and broadening your perspectives.
It's about finding your tribe, those people who share your passion for the language and can support you on your learning journey.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is there are so many different types of communities out there, like book clubs, hiking groups, online forums, language exchange partners.
So think about your interests, your hobbies, your goals. What kind of community would you feel most comfortable in, most engaged in?
Yeah, the key is to find a space where you can use English authentically and connect with people who share your passions.
Well, this brings us to the end of our deep dive into these incredible English speaking tips. I have to say, I've learned so much from going through all these sources with you.
It's been a pleasure exploring these techniques together. Remember, the most important thing is to enjoy the process, embrace the challenges, celebrate those victories, and never stop exploring the beautiful world of language.
Yes. And for all of you listening out there, remember that fluency comes one step at a time. Keep practicing, keep experimenting, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. Until next time, happy speaking.